I transmigrated into a book. Specifically, into that period drama my cousin wrote, Married Twice to the Sterile General. One Night, 3 Rounds, Quintuplets. Let me be blunt about what this book is. It's basically my cousin transmigrating into a period piece, cheating her way to fortune, and scoring big in both career and love. It dresses itself up as a power fantasy, but it's really just soft porn. And me? I became Zhou Yenshin's suicidal ex-wife, the male lead, who happens to share my exact name. Let me tell you just how tragic the original plot was. The male lead, Zhou Yenshin, got injured on a mission and was demoted to a desk job. His route was ruined, and his status crashed hard. The family he'd originally been engaged to was the female leads. But now they looked down on him and wanted to call off the engagement. Problem was, they didn't want to return the bride price or the stuff they'd swindled out of him. So what did they do? My uncle's family kept the original owner in the dark and tricked her into taking her cousin's place as the bride. The original owner had just examined the male lead herself, so she wasn't interested in a cripple either. But my uncle's family threatened her job, and just like that, she was forced into registering the marriage with him. She figured she'd at least get to be an officer's wife. But the very next day, the male lead was framed and reported to the authorities. His assets were confiscated, the whole family was sent to the countryside for re-education, and the original owner even lost her job. She was so furious she vomited blood. She pointed at him and screamed, I must be cursed for 8 lifetimes. You're nothing but a jinx. A cripple's bad enough, but you can't even get it up. If I'd known, I'd have quit my job before ever marrying you. The male lead, feeling guilty over how the marriage had gone south, kept letting it slide, which only made the original owner more brazen. Later, to get back to the city, she went and slept with a connected educated youth, and got caught in the act by the male lead. There was no fixing it after that. All she could do was divorce him and register with the youth instead. 3 months later, she was back in the city. But the moment she left, the male lead was cleared of all charges, promoted to regiment commander, and returned to the city himself. After that, he rose like a rocket, division commander, then general. That's when my cousin's female lead character shows up, the one who owned several courtyard homes in the capital and got into Peking University's medical school, complete with a spatial spring dimension. She cures the sterile male lead and boom. 1 night, 3 rounds, quintuplets. And what about the poor foil, the original owner? Only after returning to the city did she discover the educated youth was a domestic abuser, locked in the house and strung up to be beaten. And when she called the police, they just called it a family matter. She escaped several times only to be dragged back by the female lead herself. The female lead would smile and say, So even you get days like this, cousin? I really can't understand it. You had a good man like Zhou Yenshin and threw him away for someone like that? Oh, and by the way, thanks for tossing out your parents' old belongings back then. Turns out the female lead's golden cheat, the Rubik's Cube spatial spring dimension, was one of those belongings, deliberately left to gather dust beside the original owner for 10 years. The second the female lead transmigrated in, she could just scoop it up. I gritted my teeth and read the whole thing to the end. And I finally get it. My cousin wrote me into this book on purpose just to torture me. But for all the female lead's countless faults, she got one thing right. You've got a good man like the male lead, what more could you want? The male lead's sterile? Can't get it up? No problem. A few needles for me and I guarantee he'll be up and running. I'd love to see whether my cousin, this transmigrating female lead, still thinks she can steal my man and my dimension now that I'm here. Dream on. Now all of it is mine. Comrade, are you finished licking? This condition of mine. Can it be treated? Will it affect marrying a female comrade? Zhou Yenshin couldn't help but ask. This comrade's eyes were practically glued to his body. Was she even a real doctor? If it weren't for the arranged engagement, he never would have come to see a doctor at all. If it couldn't be cured, he'd call off the engagement. He wouldn't hold a woman back. How would I know just by looking? I have to feel your pulse, I said seriously, swallowing the last word. The tips of Zhou Yenshin's ears flushed crimson instantly, and he froze solid. All 6 foot, one of him just stood there at a total loss. Give me your hand, let me check your pulse. I nearly burst out laughing, pressing my lips together to keep a straight face. All right, Comrade Zhou Yenshin, put your clothes on and have a seat. He let out a breath, visibly relieved. For a second there, he'd felt like he was being teased. Thank goodness it was just his imagination. Truth is, I didn't need to check his pulse at all. My family comes from a long line of traditional Chinese medicine practitioners, and my grandfather passed his acupuncture skills down to me completely. But the male lead's condition genuinely can't be cured right now. The tube's severed, and today's medical technology can't reconnect it. This is a plot point deliberately reserved for the female lead to fix. Yeah, I got a little loud with that pulse comment just now. It won't affect your marriage to a female comrade. I didn't bring my needles today. Come here every day for acupuncture. And you'll be healed in 2 months. Yeah, right. I'm lying through my teeth. Once I get my hands on the female lead's golden sheet, the spring dimension, I'll be able to cure him. But until then, I can't get any. So I'll just have to settle for a daily hands-on examination. Those rock-hard pecs, they'd feel amazing under my hands, wouldn't they? Thank you, comrade. I'll come again tomorrow. Zhou Yenshin gave me a slight nod, leaned on his cane and strode off tall and straight. Next time we meet, we'll be a legally married couple. My smile faded. Now then, let's see exactly how this family plans to force me into marriage. I'm going to marry the male lead. But being manipulated and schemed against? That's not my style. Every benefit the original owner failed to claim, I'm taking back. Wanqing, you lucky little brat. This once-in-a-lifetime blessing just fell right into your lap. Inside the room, my Aunt Xiaolanhua was practically spraying spit as she spoke. You know Zhou Yenshin, the officer engaged to your sister Lingshan? His family's loaded. And he's a battalion-level cadre. High allowance. Lives in the military compound. Whoever marries him becomes an officer's wife. A lifetime of endless comfort. Their doorstep's been worn down by all the matchmakers. If your grandpa hadn't saved his father back in the day, do you think they'd ever marry a girl from a Su family? So your uncle and I put our heads together and decided to save this golden opportunity for you. Let you marry him. My uncle puffed on his pipe, looked at me and grinned. Look at this girl, dumbstruck with joy. Ever since your mom and dad passed, your uncle and I have fed you well and raised you right, even landed you that respectable job at the health clinic. And why? Just so you'd have a good home to go to, so we could say we did right by your folks. I let out a scornful laugh. A good home? When Zhou Yenshin wasn't crippled and his root wasn't ruined, why didn't you have me marry him then? Now that he's demoted to some dead-end desk job, can't have kids, can't advance, now you want me to marry him? Is this how you do right by my parents? And another thing, I've been living off my parents' pension money. What exactly have you raised me on? The clinic job was a succession slot the organization assigned to me by name. Since when do you get a say in it? And even when I work, don't you pocket every cent of my wages? That my heart ached. In real life, I have a happy whole family. It was my cousin who lost both parents young. My father adopted her and raised her, doting on her like his own daughter. But in the book she wrote, the original owner's father died in the line of duty, and her mother was killed in a mudslide while on a rural medical tour. In the book, she'd lost both parents, had her inheritance stolen, and was left living under someone else's roof. My cousin Su Yaozu barked at me. Su Wanqing, watch your mouth. Marrying you off to Zhou Yenshin is for your own good. You'd be taking care of a war hero, a glorious duty. Don't you know a good thing when you see it? Besides, once your sister-in-law has her baby, we can just pass one along to you. You'd get the title of an officer's wife for free, and you're still not satisfied. I sneered. Then let sister-in-law marry him. That glorious duty suits her just fine. Either way, I'm not doing it. Su Wanqing, you will go. You don't get a say in this. And if you refuse... Su Yaozu came charging at me, furious, jabbing his finger in my face. Smack. I backhanded him right across the cheek. The nerve of him. My other cousin, Su Yaoguang, stared wide-eyed. How dare you hit our big brother? He's only looking out for you. Smack. Another backhand. I hit you because I'm looking out for you. So what have you got to complain about? The whole family froze. This girl who used to be so meek you couldn't get a peep out of her even if you beat her with a stick. Had she lost her mind today? So basically, if I refuse to the death, you'll have to call off the engagement. Not only give back the betrothal gifts, but also give back that job my dear cousin just landed at the oil plant, right? Su Yaozu clutched his burning cheek, eyes blazing like he wanted to spit fire, but the hand he'd raised in midair, he didn't dare bring it down. I smiled coldly and turned to my cousin, who'd been silent in the corner the whole time. Such a wonderful match. Why not let Lingshan marry him instead? Su Lingshan's eyes flickered. She'd only just absorbed her memories. She couldn't believe she'd actually transmigrated into the book she'd written herself, and as the heroine, no less. She knew exactly what readers wanted. Have the heroine transmigrate into a period drama as a minor cannon fodder villainess, get forced by her toxic parents to marry a rich old man, and use the cousin as a control group, who marries the male lead first as a substitute bride. She'd pretend to go along with the marriage, then turn around and in the name of justice report her own family, scoring hundreds of millions in antiques and gold, sending her awful parents scrambling in terror. Readers would eat it up. Later, when the male lead divorced and returned to the city as a regiment commander, she'd have aced the reinstated college entrance exams and gotten into Peking University's medical program. She'd buy a dozen or so courtyard homes in the capital, then start dating the male lead, cure his infertility 3 times a day, an hour each time. But right now the most important thing was to recover her cheat, the spirit spring space, and then pretend to marry that walking merit box of a paycheck, so she could scoop up all the wealth that was rightfully hers. Because when she'd first transmigrated, she'd heard a voice announce a character plot revision. She didn't know what exactly had been revised. Ling Shan won't marry Zhou Yenshin because she's going to marry Hao Jiangwo, the head of the Commerce Bureau. The moment she mentioned her cousin marrying Hao Jiangwo, the whole family lit up with greed in their eyes. Director Hao controls the entire city's grocery supply. White sugar, sesame oil, lard. As much as you could ever want. And the best part is, your little brother Yaoguang could get placed in the Transportation Bureau. The driver's unit has the best perks. He could even bring home a transistor radio for the family. Sure, Director Hao's a bit old at 40-something, and he's got 2 kids, but he's plump and cheerful looking, the type who'll treat his wife well. Ling Shan will be living the good life once she marries in. My mouth twitched. This family was truly the worst. They wanted my cousin to marry a man in his 40s to reap the benefits, but didn't want to return Zhou Yenshin's betrothal gifts either, so they'd send me off to marry that cripple instead. Enough! My uncle cut through the family's fantasizing. Right now we're talking about the marriage to Zhou Yenshin. Wanqing, if you won't marry him, you can forget about that job at the clinic. Director Hao has a say in that. And with no job, your only option is to go down to the countryside. Officer's wife or peasant labor, you choose. I took the out he offered. Fine. I'll marry. But I have 2 conditions. First, give me back every cent of my wages from these past 2 years. Second, give me back my grain ration book. From now on I collect my own rations. For these past 2 years, every payday, Xie Lanhua would take my payslip to the finance office and collect my money. She'd even taken my ration book. I worked in the outpatient department. After being made permanent, I earned 38 a month. 2 years came to 912 yuan. The first to blow up was Su Yaoguang. I won't allow it. Mom promised to buy me a Seagull camera. If she gives the money to her, how am I supposed to get one? The second was Xie Lanhua, who jabbed her finger at my nose and cursed. You ungrateful little wolf. Are you trying to ruin this family? You eat here, you're clothed here. Shouldn't every cent of your wages go to the family? We must have been blind to raise a rotten little devil like you. Enough. I agreed to it. But my uncle had the final say. Because the Zhou family was offering more, a gold bracelet, gold bars, a watch, 1,000 in betrothal money, plus that job at the oil plant that Yaozu could never have gotten no matter how much money you had without the right connections. If he could settle this marriage peacefully, then once Ling Shan married Director Hao, they'd rake in even more. He didn't want to rock the boat. I want it now. I fixed my eyes on my aunt, whose face had gone dark, sick over the loss of money. My uncle looked at Xie Lanhua. Go get it. Then he turned to me. Go change into something presentable. Take care of things with your aunt, and don't keep the Zhou family waiting. Only Su Lingshan seemed a little dazed. In the original story, had the cousin ever demanded this much money? How could she have let the cousin bring so much money down to the countryside? Fine. I turned and walked toward my room, the storage closet. This was the perfect chance to grab my parents' keepsake. That cheat, the spirit spring space. Sister Wan. Su Lingshan suddenly called out. That was what my cousin only ever called me in the real world. I didn't slow down. I slammed the door shut behind me. Had my identity been exposed because I demanded more than the story called for? Breaking from the plot? If she were a native of this world who transmigrated in, then according to the plot, she'd never have imagined that the cannon fodder cousin transmigrated too, let alone call me Sister Wan. So, was this cousin also a real person who transmigrated from the real world? Knock, knock, knock. Someone rapped on the door. I opened it. Su Wanqing, I just called you. Why didn't you answer? Su Lingshan stared hard into my eyes. Did you transmigrate in too? What's your problem? What did you just call me? Transmigrate into what? I put on an annoyed face. In the real world, the 2 of us played the fake sisters act, but in the book, we were like fire and water. Never mind. She slowly let out a breath. Seemed like she was overthinking it. Maybe this was that so-called character plot revision. Then it hit her, she'd left something here. She glanced at the dusty item sitting in the basket in the storage room, her heart pounding. I need to change, I said, pushing her toward the door. Everything in here is mine, or it belonged to my parents. There's nothing of yours. Su Lingshan cursed inwardly. A perfectly good space cheat. Why couldn't the author have just written it as hers? No, it had to be a keepsake from the cousin's dead parents. How was she supposed to ask for it now? Did she really have to wait until the cousin got married off and sent to the countryside, leaving the thing behind? No way. The plot correcting itself left her deeply unsettled. That spirit spring and the space were crucial. Without them, she'd have no chance against Hao Jiangwo, that beast in human skin. Su Wanqing. I've got my eye on that little trinket in the basket. Name your price. Are you sick in the head? You want to buy my parents' keepsakes? Your parents died. Would you sell their belongings? I shoved her out the door and slammed it shut with a bang. Su Lingshan was rattled, gripped by a nagging urgency, like she was about to lose something. Maybe the plot hasn't reached that point yet, so I can't get it now. Whatever. Once she leaves her room later, I'll see if I can sneak it back. Su Wanqing. I'll let you borrow Zhou Yenshin for a few months. As for the Spirit Spring space, I'll have it soon enough. And once you're shipped off to the countryside in a couple of days, you can really savor the rural life I've tailor-made just for you. I guarantee you'll wish you were dead. Her smile was chilling. For most people, being sent down to the countryside meant a little hunger, a little cold, back-breaking farm work at harvest. But the place she'd arranged in the plot? Hehehe. It was this thing right here, a metal Rubik's Cube. I opened the dusty box. Inside lay a palm-sized cube. In the original story, Su Lingshan bonded with it just by dripping her blood on it. I pulled out a disposable needle I'd swiped from the hospital, drew a vial of blood straight from the vein in my arm, and dripped it on. 3 seconds. 10 seconds. Nothing. Did I get it wrong? I drew another vial and dripped blood on every single keepsake. Still silence. Nothing happened. Is the space only meant for the female lead? No, let me think again. The story said the space activated when the trial energy ran out, then the blood bonding worked. Do I have to wait for the energy to deplete? Maybe the timing isn't right yet, and I have to follow the plot? I picked up the cube again, my OCD kicking in. I'd competed in the National 4x4 Cube Championship. I could solve one blindfolded. Click. The final turn and all 6 sides lined up. Congratulations. You have activated the Myriad Cube Space. Status. Bound. My vision swam. Suddenly there were 64 cubes in my head, and a few lines of text floated up. User Manual. Level. LV1. Upgrade Condition. Absorb the power of precious metals. Requirement. 1 kilogram of gold. Good news. The space was activated, and unlike the female lead space in the book, which couldn't be upgraded, mine could keep leveling up. Bad news. It needed 1 kilogram of gold. Where the hell was I supposed to steal that? Space capacity. 64 units. Each unit can stack unlimited quantities of identical items. Silver Spirit Infusion Unit. Stored water will be upgraded to Spirit Spring. Those two match the book. Gold Spirit Infusion Unit. Infuse identical items with gold energy. After infusion, quantity is returned times 10. Refreshes daily at midnight. Each item can only be infused once. After infusion, it loses its precious metal energy and can no longer be used for upgrades. A 10x return? The female lead in the book didn't have this. My breathing quickened. Put in 1 kilogram of gold today, get 10 kilograms back tomorrow? Bad news. Once gold was infused, it lost its precious metal energy and couldn't be used to upgrade. To level up, I still had to find a legit 1 kilogram of gold. Good news. I'd spotted a loophole in the rules. Say I infused 1 gene of flour and got 10 gene. Then I turned that flour into 100 steamed buns and infused those. Doesn't 1 gene of flour become 1,000 buns? So if I process one item, couldn't I infuse it twice 3 times, multiplying it 100-fold, 1,000-fold? Either way, I was about to get shipped off to the countryside to suffer alongside the male lead. I needed to stockpile supplies while I still could. With this 10x return, wouldn't my rural life be downright cozy? Brown sugar, grain coupons, cloth coupons, cash. Everything could multiply by 10. Upgrade feature preview unlocked. Fertile soil unit, livestock unit, insight unit, craftsman unit. Drooling. My eyes practically glazed over with greed. Bang bang bang. Su Wanqing, are you dressed yet? Quit dawdling, let's go. My aunt called from outside. Coming. I took off the white coat, cleaned up the crime scene, and looked at the now dimmed cube. In the book, the female lead needed the cube to access the space. But my space was in my head. The cube was useless as a medium now. I'll leave you here as a smokescreen for my dear cousin. That way she wouldn't immediately figure out that I'd taken the Spirit Spring space. I walked out of the room and the whole family froze. A pale pink fine cloth blouse, hair pinned up in a bun, a blue cloth bag embroidered with white magnolias in hand. It made me look delicate and graceful, so pretty no one could look away. My uncle nodded approvingly, then launched into his earnest lecture. Wanqing, you're a good-looking girl, but that temper of yours is just awful. You've got to fix it. Once you're married, you have to defer to your mother-in-law and take good care of your husband. A beating here and there is just part of life. Nothing to feel wronged over. And if you really do feel wronged, just grit your teeth and it'll pass. I shot back. You've got such a good temper, you grit your teeth then. You. Why won't anything get through to you? Beats being a money grubber like you. My aunt hurled a stack of cash and a grain ration booklet at me. Enough, get lost already. Humph. I'd be taking that money back eventually. I counted it, and only after the numbers checked out did I tuck it into my cloth bag and walk off without looking back. Behind me, my uncle sputtered, eyes bulging. When did she turn out like this? But Su Lingshan relaxed. This was the Su Wanqing from her book, Selfish, Vicious, Greedy. Her pampered, silk-clad cousin would never have acted like this. When she finally slipped into the storage room and dug out the metal cube, relief washed over her, followed by a wave of euphoria. My space. My cheat. Once I activate you, every last one of you had better watch out. The July sky was suffocatingly dry. Xielanhua took me to the neighborhood office first to handle the paperwork, then to the military family compound to find Zhou Yenshin. I stared blankly the whole way, too absorbed in tinkering with my space. The people at the office probably thought a simpleton had wandered in. I couldn't help it. I was genuinely torn. What would give me the best bang for my buck with today's 10x return? The original owner was flat broke, about to be sent to the countryside, in desperate need of supplies. Fresh from my uncle's place. Reclaim 912 yuan, and after the spirit infusion it becomes 9,120 yuan. Just like that, I'd turn into a wealthy capitalist landlord overnight. But the moment I put the money into my space I was dumbfounded. It took up 4 whole slots. 50 10 yuan bills, 72 5 yuan bills, 47 1 yuan bills and 10 5 jiao notes. Different denominations got treated as different categories by the space and split apart. For the spirit infusion, today I could use at most 50 10 yuan bills, that's 5,000 yuan. With this money, tomorrow I could hit the black market and stock up in bulk. Swap for grain coupons, buy rice and white flour, white sugar and brown sugar, cotton coats and cotton quilts. Then get a tenfold return, meaning I spend 500 yuan and end up with 50,000 yuan worth of supplies. But here's the problem. In the book, not long after the original owner and the male lead went down to the countryside, an intestinal infectious disease broke out in the village. The whole village was vomiting, having diarrhea and running fevers with the stench of feces everywhere, and people died. The original owner had diarrhea for 3 days and 3 nights, smearing the whole room, until even her quarrelsome mother-in-law didn't dare set foot inside. So I wanted to get the hospital's chloramphenicol, used for treating intestinal diseases, into my space for free with the tenfold return. It's a prescription drug, tightly controlled, and impossible to buy on the outside. There was also the hospital's penicillin, antibiotics, and anti-inflammatory tablets. I wanted to use my job to my advantage and multiply them all tenfold. Put one batch back in the hospital and pocket the rest. Because in the book, once you went to the countryside, there were no medicines at all. What a pity. I'd be leaving for the countryside the day after tomorrow, so I only had 2 chances left. Today I'll multiply the 50 10 yuan bills tenfold first. Tomorrow I'll pick out chloramphenicol at the hospital, and stash away some of the other meds I can requisition. Once I'm in the countryside, I'll multiply them little by little. Once I decided, I didn't hesitate. With money, if I could get my hands on a radio, tomorrow it'd be 10 radios, handy for trading supplies and greasing relationships. In my mind, 1 silver cube turns water into a spirit spring, and 1 gold cube multiplies things tenfold. I carefully placed the 50 10 yuan bills inside. A flash of gold light, and the money vanished. What the hell, where'd my 500 yuan go? The instant I panicked, there was another flash. A full 510 yuan bills popped out. No wonder they call it a tenfold return. 5,000 yuan. My breathing quickened. What did this kind of money mean in 1976? Think of how much it could buy. I couldn't keep the corners of my mouth from turning up. What are you grinning at? Hurry up and greet everyone. The army compound, the Zhou family's living room. Xielanhua shoved me to the front and put on an obsequious smile. Yenshin's mother, our Lingshan, just wasn't lucky enough to marry Battalion Commander Zhou, so I brought Wanqing instead. This child is a doctor. There couldn't be anyone more suitable to take care of Battalion Commander Zhou from now on. Zhou's mother wore a light-colored qipao, her hair pinned neatly at the back of her head, and she was sizing me up with a critical eye. Hello, Auntie. I smiled politely, but inwardly I was running through the original plot. Zhou's mother gave a snort through her nose. Swapping people out at the last minute? Most likely she'd seen that her son was disabled and had been pushed to the sidelines, and unwilling to marry him off yet reluctant to break the engagement, they just grabbed some orphan girl to fill the spot. She'd originally wanted her own niece to marry in, a delicate young lady she knew inside and out, so how could these country bumpkins ever compare? Unfortunately, her dead husband had insisted on this match, and her son was a blockhead. If he hadn't saved his life, why would he throw away the rest of his own? This whole family of lifesavers was greedy and money-grubbing, and by association she found me repulsive too. Displeased, she said in a snide tone, For us Zhous, what matters most in a daughter-in-law is that she's dutiful, obedient, and hardworking. Marrying into our family, you've landed yourself a real windfall. So just behave yourself and wait on Yenshin and… Xie Lanhua rushed to cut in. Right. Yenshin's mother makes perfect sense. A man is our woman's whole sky. Wait on him well, and we get to hold our heads high when word gets around, isn't that so? Zhou's mother's expression eased a little. That job of yours at the health clinic, quit it as soon as possible. Day after day showing your face in public, touching those patients' hands, filthy stuff. And then you're supposed to wait on my son? What kind of thing is that? A daughter-in-law of the Zhou family doesn't need to go out and earn a few measly coins. How disgraceful. Word getting around would make it seem like we Zhous mistreated you, like we can't even afford to keep our own daughter-in-law. A woman's roots must be planted in the home. Serving your man well is the truly important proper business. Yenshin is the sky, you're the earth. You have to hold him up and wait on him completely. That's your real contribution. 1,000 times better than curing a few patients. I lowered my head, a trace of mockery on my lips. In my cousin's setup, Zhou's mother was the wicked mother-in-law who specialized in bullying the original owner. But before the female lead came on stage, she'd die out in the countryside, so as not to be an obstacle for the heroine. In the original plot, the original owner heard these words and, overwhelmed by humiliation and rage past the point of reason, got into a shouting match with Zhou's mother, and later they came to blows, only for Zhou Yenshin to walk out and catch them right in the act after hearing the noise. Zhou's mother immediately burst into tears and threw a fit. She and Xie Lanhua played off each other, pinning all the blame on the original owner, so that the male lead's impression of her turned utterly rotten. From then on, whenever mother and daughter-in-law argued, the original owner could only hold her tongue. But now the real Su Wanqing had transmigrated in. Deal with a wicked mother-in-law? I'm just a little bit good at that. I'll quit my job at the health clinic tomorrow and focus on taking care of Comrade Zhou Yenshin. But auntie… Oh mother, how much compensation do you plan to give me? And how much will you give me each month going forward? The moment Zhou's mother heard the word compensation, it was as if she'd heard something unspeakably vulgar. Xie Lanhua immediately scolded. Waiting on your own man is only natural. Would the Zhou family ever short you on food or drink? We're all one family. What money are you asking for on top of that? The mother-in-law opened with another dig at me. A prominent, well-established household like ours, how could we ever let you go out and earn a few paltry coins? I smiled. Mother, does that mean if I quit my job, the Zhou family will give me more generous compensation than the health clinic did? Otherwise, what's in it for me? That job of mine pays 38 yuan a month, 456 a year, 4,560 over 10 years. Surely you're not asking me to give up a decent job with an income just to come to the Zhou family and slave away like an ox for a horse, without a single cent? Am I supposed to be blessed with the privilege of handing over bedpans? My aunt Xie Lanhua was left speechless by my retort. The mother-in-law sneered coldly. Just as I thought. Comes from some petty little household, so all she knows is money. She turned and went into the inner room, then came out cradling an old wooden box. She flipped it open casually. Rows of neatly arranged gold bars and gold ingots nearly blinded both me and Xie Lanhua. The mother-in-law didn't even glance at the box, instead fixing me with a mocking stare. These gold and silver things, you can't bring them into this world or take them out of it. They're nothing but seeds of disaster. There isn't much money in this house, just this little trinket. Take it, quit that servile job of yours, and wait on my son properly. She meant to humiliate me with the gold. Let's see if this greedy little thing will take it or play all high and mighty. The corner of my mouth twitched. A little is what's left at home? I knew better than anyone. In the original storyline, this wicked mother-in-law died out in the countryside, but she'd stashed away plenty of gold back in the city, and in the end the female lead scooped it all up. Just then a low, displeased male voice cut in. Mom, we Zhou family don't have a habit of throwing money at people to buy them off. Don't force people into things. Zhou Yenshin had arrived. He'd heard from a distance his mother's cutting words about using money to buy out someone's future. But when his gaze landed on me, he suddenly froze. This person in front of him, wasn't she the woman doctor who'd made him strip down and examined him that very morning? His ears turned a little red. He never imagined I was the new bride the Su family had sent over. Without the white coat, I was pretty enough to make him momentarily forget his embarrassment from that morning. He suppressed the strange feeling, his eyes sincere. Comrade Su, you don't need to quit your job. Healing the sick and saving lives is a glorious profession. If we get married, I'll hand over my salary and allowances for you to manage. Marrying a woman comrade from the Su family had been his father's dying wish, but since they were getting married, he intended to fulfill his duties as a husband. Now that's what a man should say. I looked at him, my eyes clear and bright. Comrade Zhou Yenshin, I'm Su Wanqing. Thank you for your kindness, but I was already planning to quit my job at the health clinic. I've recently been researching a set of acupuncture treatments for nerve recovery in severely wounded patients. It's reached a critical stage, and I need to devote myself to it completely, rather than clocking in and out day after day. This might help more comrades like you down the road. The reason was, of course, completely made up. In a couple of days I'd be forced to go down to the countryside, so I might as well quit early and sell the position. Plenty of people at the hospital were waiting to snatch up a full-time spot like mine. As for the gold, well, that I was definitely taking. As I spoke, I very naturally pulled the box of gold toward me, closed the lid, my movements smooth, not the slightest bit coy, and said sincerely to my mother-in-law, "Mom, you're really too generous. When an elder gives a gift, one dare not refuse. If I didn't accept it, wouldn't I be letting down your good intentions? That would be so ungrateful. Don't you worry. I've accepted this token of your heart. From now on, I'll definitely make a good life with Comrade Yenshin and take care of him with all my heart." The words were airtight, choking my mother-in-law so she couldn't say a thing. The money had clearly been meant to humiliate me. She'd never actually intended to give it away. And the result? Like a meat bun thrown at a dog, gone and never coming back. Xia Lanhua's eyes nearly popped out of her head. If I'd known the Zhous had this much gold stashed away, I should have married that wretched girl Lingshan into this family. What's a Bureau of Commerce director compared to these solid chunks of gold? This heaven-sent fortune should have all been hers. Her eyes darted around as she silently schemed. Zhou Yenshin can't have children, so wouldn't I, Su Wanqing, have to lean on my brothers and nephews back home for support? When the time comes, I'll have the eldest son's wife give up the baby in her belly to be adopted by the Zhou family. A few gold bars for a fat baby boy, perfectly fair and square. At this thought, she was eager to hurry back and discuss it, quickly saying, "Well, since our niece has been delivered, I'll head back first. Wanqing, come home once the paperwork's done." As she left, she cast one last greedy glance at the box in my hands. Zhou Yenshin saw her out the door before turning back. I put on just the right amount of bashfulness. Look at me. So caught up in my excitement that I've already started calling her mom, when we're not even married yet. Then I looked at him openly and generously. "Comrade Zhou Yenshin, the letter of introduction is written, and I've accepted Mom's kind gift. Now, are you willing to marry me, to live together, and to grow together?" So direct and forthright, it made the ever-serious Zhou Yenshin's ears flush red in an instant. Comrade Su Wanqing, this sort of thing. It should rightly be initiated by me, the man. Leaning on his cane, his back ramrod straight, his voice solemn. "Now allow me to ask you formally, Comrade Su Wanqing, are you willing to become the revolutionary partner of me, Zhou Yenshin, to support each other and grow together through good times and bad?" He was like a mountain blocking out the sun. I looked up at the backlit man and thought he was impossibly handsome. "I am. Good. Leave the rest to me." A faint smile tugged at the corner of Zhou Yenshin's stern mouth. Yenshin. My mother-in-law was so furious she nearly toppled over backward. She'd lost the wife and the soldiers, and now the plan to bring in her niece was ruined too. Zhou Yenshin had already given the organization a heads up, so the moment his marriage report was submitted it was approved, and we quickly finished the paperwork. The instant we stepped out the door of the Civil Affairs office, he pulled a thick manila envelope and a neatly folded little booklet from his uniform pocket and handed them to me. "This is my salary and this month's ration coupons. You hold on to them for now. Tomorrow I'll bring you the rest of the money and coupons from home." His tone was matter of fact. "See what we need to buy. When do you plan to move over? I'll come help you with your luggage." I took the envelope, slightly stunned. In the original storyline, because the original owner had hit Mother Zhou, Zhou Yenshin had a terrible impression of her. Forget giving her money or coupons, he barely exchanged 2 words with her. That very day, the eldest uncle's family had shooed her off to the military family compound like they were swatting away a fly. But now everything had changed. I thought it over. I still had to go to the black market in the middle of the night to buy a large batch of supplies, so moving into the military family compound would actually be inconvenient. Tomorrow I still have to work my last day at the clinic to hand things over. Don't worry about your leg. After work I'll pack up and move over myself, then swing by the department store to pick up a few household things. His leg wasn't actually crippled. It just needed a few months to heal. I'll drive the liberation truck from over there to help you move your luggage. Me. That's a bit much. But thinking about it, once the luggage was moved I could head straight to the department store. Tomorrow was the last day I could openly buy in bulk, and having the excuse of a wedding made it perfect. I really did need a truck to haul the goods. "Alright, then I'll trouble you, Comrade Zhou Yenshin." "Good. I'll come pick you up tomorrow afternoon. Come to the hospital early in the afternoon." He lowered his head, his eyes questioning. I blinked. "Aren't you coming in for your treatment? Don't you want to get better?" recalling that awkward moment this morning when he'd stripped down and asked the doctor whether he could be cured. So the new bride wanted him to recover soon too? His face stayed composed, but his heartbeat clearly quickened. Understood, Comrade Su Wanqing. I'll come early. With that, he strode off leaning on his cane, tall and upright, though there was more than a hint of fleeing the scene about it. I laughed. Zhou Yinshan really was a proper gentleman. A man this handsome, teasing him was all the more fun. Oh right, before heading down to the countryside I had to get enough spirit spring water. The place where the original owner was sent to the countryside was hit by a severe drought. With enough water, maybe the crops could have been saved. No total crop failure, no so many people starving to death that winter. Bincheng sits right next to a big river. I took a detour on my way back and got there in no time. Every now and then, a worker heading home would pedal past on one of those big black bikes, bell jingling. Once the coast was clear, I locked my mind onto the silver spirit infusion grid. In an instant, the middle of that river, tens of meters wide, got sucked in, swirling up into a massive whirlpool. Natural water body being absorbed. 1,000 cubic meters. 10,000 cubic meters. Quality. Converting to spirit spring. Hell yeah. Grab more. I wished I could suck the whole river into the space. By the time it was fully dark and the smell of dinner drifted out from every household, the space showed 8 million cubic meters of water. Only then did I reluctantly nod. More than half of West Lake. That'd be plenty for the countryside. The river level had dropped quite a bit, but I didn't feel one bit guilty. Bincheng floods all the time in July, so I figured I was basically helping with flood control. Back at the old courtyard compound, I'd been bracing myself. My uncle's family were such pieces of work. They'd want me to hand over the gold, and I figured we'd have to go another round. Or maybe my cousin Su Lingshan, once she realized the plot had changed, would get suspicious. Originally she was supposed to fight with the male lead's mother and get dumped by him, but now it had turned into the mother handing over a box of gold instead. Turns out, the Su family was way too busy with their own drama to bother with me. The room was a total mess. Su Lingshan sat pale against the edge of the bed, a blood-stained rag wrapped around her wrist, her face terrifyingly grim. Xie Lanhua stood with her hands on her hips, jabbing a finger in her face. You worthless, death-wishing money pit. You're supposed to meet Director Hao tomorrow and you pull this stunt? Bleeding all over the place, whose funeral are you trying to throw? Director Hao taking a liking to you is the luck of 8 generations, and you dare try to off yourself. Su Yaozu chimed in with his lecture too. Lingshan, you're being so unreasonable. If you won't think about yourself, at least think about this family. Just the crumbs slipping through Director Hao's fingers would set us up for the good life. Now you've scarred your hand, what's he gonna think tomorrow? Her younger brother Su Yaoguang was even more frantic. Sis, you'd better not blow this. Director Hao promised to get me a job. If the marriage falls through, what happens to me? I sneered inwardly. This wasn't suicide at all. Su Lingshan was clearly trying to bind by blood, to activate her golden finger Rubik's Cube space. She probably thought a few drops weren't enough, wanted to add more, and accidentally cut too deep. If this cousin of mine were smarter like me, she'd just draw 3 or 4 vials with a syringe. Nobody would even notice. Though, I did draw a few vials for nothing today. Impossible. Why won't the blood bind it? Su Lingshan was in a panic. Had the plot correction wiped out her golden finger? Was there no space in this world at all? No, if something as bizarre as transmigration could happen, what was a space compared to that? Could Su Wanqing have activated it? No, that's not right. In the plot I wrote, you need the cube to use the space, and the cube's in my hands. Is it just not time yet? Yes, I said it so that blood binding only unlocks after the cube's trial ends. That's not until the day after tomorrow. Then I'll just wait 2 more days. Her mind was a tangled mess, and being screamed at by Xie Lanhua only made it worse. She snapped back irritated. Enough. What's all the wailing for? I'll figure out a way to get the marriage certificate with Hao Zhengwo tomorrow, alright? You'll get your cut. With that, she shook off Xie Lanhua and spun around to hide in the room. That poked the hornet's nest. Xie Lanhua exploded on the spot, grabbing her braid and yanking her back. The nerve of you. You dare give your own mother attitude? What a waste, raising a money pit like you. Your cut? That's the contribution you owe this family. You're not even the director's wife yet and you're already putting on airs? If you don't marry Director Hao tomorrow, just watch how I deal with you. Su Lingshan's scalp burned from the pull, and she was both shocked and furious. Never in a million years had she imagined that this trashy family she'd written, the ones who favored sons over daughters and beat and cursed the original owner since childhood, would dare bully her like this now that she'd transmigrated into the story herself. Just wait. Once she activated her space and got her hands on Hao Zhengwo's hidden fortune, she'd show this whole family how to die. I couldn't be bothered to watch this farce any longer. I quietly rolled my eyes, scooped a bowl of leftover rice from the stove, wolfed it down and slipped back to my cramped little storage room. I steadied myself and, unable to wait any longer, placed the gold I'd gotten from the male lead's mother into the upgrade slot of the Rubik's Cube space. Precious metal force. Gold detected. Upgrade conditions met. Proceed with upgrade. Upgrade. In an instant, light flared in my mind. The 64-cell cube became 125 cells, and several lines of text appeared. Level, LV2. Upgrade condition. Absorb precious metal force. Requirement. 5 kilograms gold, 10 kilograms silver. Space size, 125 single cells. Each cell can stack identical items infinitely. Unlocked. Fertile soil cell. Store ordinary soil to convert it into spirit fertile soil, capable of growing any plant at 10 times growth speed and higher quality. Reward. Gold spirit infusion count +1, no time limit. Enhanced silver spirit infusion +1 cubic meter. I stared at the upgraded space in delight. Just one day into transmigrating and I'd already scored gold and leveled up. The upgrade rule must scale with the cube's order. A fourth order cube is 4 times 4 times 4 is equal to 64 cells. A fifth order is 5 times 5 times 5 is equal to 125 cells. New cells for farming, and they even convert soil to spirit fertile soil, with faster growth. Now I wouldn't have to worry about food once I got sent to the countryside. Grow whatever I want to eat. So it'd be best to get some seeds too. I couldn't wait until I was already in the countryside to ask for them. That would give me away. The gold spirit infusion count +1 meant I could multiply the contents of a cell tenfold, one extra time. Incredibly useful for someone about to be sent to the countryside like me. Tomorrow was my last day in the city. Once I'd bought some things, I'd figure out how to use it. The enhanced silver spirit infusion should mean the spirit springs effects were even better. By now, the murky river water I'd absorbed today had all converted into clear spirit spring water, with the enhanced version automatically sorted to the top layer. I dug out my porcelain jar from the storage room, and with a single thought, the jar filled up instantly. I couldn't wait. I gulped it down. A cool, sweet freshness spread through my mouth. After finishing, I poured a cup of ordinary spirit spring water to try too. The enhanced version was sweeter with a better taste. The ordinary spirit spring water was about the same as mineral water, and my body didn't feel any different. After studying it for a while with no results, I yawned, lay down on that narrow wooden plank bed, and fell into a deep sleep. At 3 in the morning, I hunched over and crawled up, changing into a disguise. A dark, coarse cloth jacket, worn-out cloth shoes, and a headscarf wrapped so it covered my face until only my eyes were showing. Hunched over like that, I looked every bit the part of a country bumpkin. I strapped the wicker basket to my back and headed straight for the black market, an abandoned factory district on the east side of town. In the book, once the female lead got her space pocket, she became a regular here. What's even more ridiculous is, aren't normal black markets just for selling rice, flour, oil and grain? But the one my cousin wrote in her book? The female lead scores cheap deals, sure, but she's always stumbling onto scarce goods like TVs, bicycles, cameras, and get this, no ration coupons required. Basically, whatever the female lead needs, the black market's got it. Well, today I'm going to see just how ridiculous this black market really is. The moment I got close, I felt a jolt. It was exactly like the book described, terrifyingly huge. The night was pitch black, and goods were laid out all over the ground. Someone would flick on a flashlight for a quick look, then shut it off just as fast. If something caught your eye, you'd crouch down and haggle in whispers. If not, you'd move along quickly. Everyone had their heads wrapped up, sneaking around like thieves. That put me at ease. It was so dark you couldn't see a thing. Buy something, turn around, disappear into the crowd, and you'd never be found again. So there was absolutely no need to do what the female lead did. Buying hundreds of pounds of grain at once, drawing attention, getting targeted by jealous eyes, unable to fight back, running until there was nowhere left to go, and then the male lead swoops in to save the damsel in distress. Please. It's 3 in the morning. Why would the male lead be at the black market instead of sleeping? Besides, he's military. How would he even end up here? Done venting, I walked over to an old woman's stall. She had a wicker basket in front of her, full of eggs, with 2 old hens tied up beside it. Ma'am, how much for the eggs? 70 cents a pound, no coupons needed. She just set up shop and hadn't even settled into her seat yet. A little pricier than the supply co-op, but reasonable for a black market. Besides, others saw a single basket of eggs, but to me it was 10 baskets. Ma'am, I'll take all these eggs. She immediately warmed up. There's a little over 11 pounds here. Let's just call it 11. You want these hens too? $5 each, good for super eggs. I hesitated. The space upgrade preview mentioned a livestock section, which meant live chickens couldn't go in yet. Life out in the countryside was hard. It'd be nice to stew up a chicken now and then. But these weren't 2 chickens, they were clearly 20. They're good hens, but I live in the factory dorms. No room to raise them, and I don't know how to slaughter them. It'd be great if they came ready to cook. Say no more. Let me slaughter and clean them right now, how's that? Sure, I'll trouble you then. I'll take both. Without another word, she bled and cleaned the chickens with practiced efficiency, then helped load my eggs into the basket. 2 chickens, $10. Eggs, $7.70. I held out $17.70, then pulled my hand back. Oh, I had 510 yuan bills in my space. I needed to prioritize spending the money that couldn't be duplicated anymore. A 5 yuan bill was actually worth 50, so handing those out would be a huge loss for me. Seeing me retract my hand, the old woman's eyes went wide, thinking I was trying to stiff her. The next second, she watched me swap in 2 10 yuan bills. Ma'am, make some change please. Sure, no problem. Only then did she relax. I paid, hoisted the basket onto my back, and kept walking. The crowd swallowed me up in no time. Hey brother, how much for the fine grains? I drifted over to a stall run by a burly, honest-looking man. Premium flours 20 cents, refined rice 18, no coupons. Alright, weigh out 30 pounds of premium flour and 30 of refined rice. I don't have small bills, mind breaking a big one? Thanks. Auntie, 20 pounds of millet and soybeans, and break me some 5s and 1s too. Uncle, how much for these national grain coupons and industrial coupons? Can you make change? If so, I'll take them all. Big brother, $10 worth of peanut oil. Got any small change? I hit one spot then moved to the next, exploiting the space's glitch along the way, spending the duplicated 10 yuan bills, getting 5s and 1s as change from sellers, then multiplying each batch by 10 once I had enough. Man, this wasn't a tenfold return, it was 100, 1,000 times over. And each time I cautiously bought only a few dozen yuan's worth, and once the basket was full I'd pretend to rest and switch locations, quickly transferring the goods into my space. Scattered purchases actually drew less attention. By the time the sky turned pale gray, I'd used up 87 of my space's 125 slots, 500 pounds of flour, 400 of refined rice, 200 of soybeans, 100 of peanut oil, 50 of salt, plus 50 pounds of eggs for chickens, 100 pounds of pork, 30 pounds of salted fish, 10 pounds of dried mushrooms, 20 pounds of wood ear fungus, 50 pounds of mountain goods, and assorted sweet potatoes and peanuts. White sugar and brown sugar were scarce, only 2 or 3 pounds, plus 2 boxes of malted milk powder. Then all sorts of odds and ends, 50 feet of thick cotton cloth, 20 pounds of cotton, 3 pairs of rubber-soled cotton shoes, 2 kerosene lamps, 2 tin thermoses, a shovel and hoe, matches and soap, yarn, cigarettes, and so on. To my surprise, someone was actually selling seeds, so I grabbed some vegetables and fruits too, wild mushrooms, apples, eggplant, chives, cabbage, pumpkin. Even the seeds from what I ate could be planted in the space. I just wasn't sure if the wild mushrooms would survive. Mushrooms grow from mycelium, and it seemed like nobody was cultivating mushrooms in this era yet. With dawn approaching fast, I had about 1,000 yuan left of my 5,000. Looking at the mountain of supplies, I couldn't help but marvel. This money really stretched a hell of a long way. I still wanted to buy the gold jewelry off those old ladies. Upgrading the space required 5 kilograms of gold, so every little bit helped. Just then, a burly man walked straight toward me and opened his black windbreaker right in front of me. I thought he was going for a gun and instantly went on guard. But instead, sneaking around like a thief, he pulled a watch and a camera from inside his coat. He lowered his voice. You want these? Shanghai brand all-steel watch, 200. Seagull 4B twin lens reflex, 450. No coupons, cash only. My pupils contracted. Someone at this black market was actually selling cameras and watches. My cousin's period fiction lived up to its reputation. Absolutely ridiculous. These were obviously confiscated goods that had leaked out, and he had the nerve to sell them here. What a daredevil. While I hesitated, the man was already wrapping his coat back up, about to find another buyer. He was clearly in a hurry. Wait, I'll take both, I said in a hushed voice. His face lit up. Without hesitation, I counted out the money, and the two of us made the swap fast like thieves. He riffled through the cash while I quickly inspected the camera and watch. Once we both confirmed everything checked out, afraid of getting caught and causing trouble, we instinctively bolted in opposite directions. A minute later, damn it, wrong direction. I doubled back and slipped into the crowd again. I ran all the way back to the old Su family home. Back into the storage room, my heart still pounding. I set down the empty basket, my eyes rolled with a scheme, and the corners of my mouth curled into a grin. I have a wicked idea. The supplies in my magic space had refreshed tenfold at midnight. So I put my camera into the space and used today's golden spirit infusion. Whoosh! 10 identical seagull cameras stacked neatly in a single slot. My 450 yuan camera instantly multiplied by 10. That seagull camera. Isn't that exactly what Su Yaoguang's been dying to get his hands on? I crept out of the storage room, hunched over, and quietly slipped one camera onto the bed of the sleeping Su Yaoguang. 17-year-old boys sleep like the dead, so I just let him sleep cuddling his beloved camera. Then I snuck into Xia Lanhua and Uncle Su's room. In the book, the female lead comes in a few days later and steals all the cash from their cabinet. The couple slept so soundly they didn't notice until they needed the money. I tiptoed in, one was snoring, the other's mouth hanging wide open. I opened the cabinet where they hid their money, scooped the metal box into my arms, and rushed back to my room, heart pounding. Phew. That was a rush. I wasn't going to steal it at first. I was worried Su Lingshan would notice the plot was off and suspect me. But now, the moment I got my hands on that camera, I changed my mind. Steal? This money was supposed to come back to me anyway. My uncle's family had swallowed up the pension money from the original owner's dead parents, seized her father's job position, and sold off every valuable the Su family owned. Yet they treated the original owner like dirt. By any measure, this money rightfully belonged to her. Back in my room I counted it, TSK 3,850 yuan. The Su family had this much saved up for 3 reasons. First, they'd swallowed the original owner's inheritance. Second, they'd milked the Zhou family under the guise of being their life-saving benefactors. And third, they'd squeezed Hao Jiangwo dry. The bride price alone was 2,000. In the book, this money was the female lead's startup capital. She used it to do business, contract a garbage collection station, and buy a courtyard house in the capital. Now it was all mine. Does this count as stealing the female lead's resources? Too bad it was only cash. Auntie had hidden the gold bars and bracelets somewhere. But I'm not greedy. I left 200 yuan back in the metal box, then snuck into Su Yaoguang's room and stuffed the box into his wardrobe. That kid was young but obsessed with clothes and food, always fussing over his outfits. He'd definitely find this unexpected windfall. Once all that was done, I changed back into normal clothes and packed the original owner's pitiful belongings into a single bundle. At 7, when I heard people stirring outside, I casually pushed open my door and strolled out. Heh. A good show was about to begin. Xia Lanhua was banging around making breakfast. Uncle Su lounged with an enamel mug stamped with a red double happiness symbol, leisurely sipping tea and reading the newspaper. Wanqing, you're up? Your aunt cooked corn grits and fried some eggs, your favorite. Come eat with us. Oh please, the sun's risen in the west. When had Uncle ever cared whether the original owner lived or died? No thanks, Uncle. I have to head to the hospital early today to finish handing over my work. Can't afford to be late. With that, I walked out the door. All right, then come back early this afternoon. Let's all have a good talk as a family before you move out. Uncle Su squinted, barely holding it together. Last night he'd been dealing with that wretched girl Su Lingshan's marriage and forgot about Su Wanqing. He'd just have to get the gold back this afternoon. The moment I left, Xia Lanhua rushed into the storage room and rummaged through it. After searching a long time, she came out and shook her head at Su Jiangwo in disappointment. This girl hid the gold somewhere. Otherwise we could have just offered to hold on to it for her. Years ago, when the original owner's parents died, she'd sold off everything valuable, claimed the pension money, and told the original owner, "You're so young, we'll keep the money safe for you so you don't lose it." Just then, Su Yaoguang came barreling out, clutching something to his chest. "Ma, I'm not eating. Zhang Zhuzi's treating me to the state-run restaurant. Every single one of you, I swear. I make food and nobody eats it. Fine, starve for all I care." I arrived at the state-run restaurant, thinking about how I'd be sent to the countryside tomorrow and rarely get city food afterward. Plus I just traded for a bunch of grain and meat coupons that morning, and Zhou Yenshin had given me plenty of ration tickets too. I decided to buy extra prepared food. When I reached the window, I handed over my tickets and money. "Comrade, 5 meat buns, 5 steamed buns, 5 fried dough sticks, and fill this thermos with soy milk." I passed over my military-issue canteen. State-run restaurants had limits. Everyone could only buy so much. There was braised pork at noon too, but sadly limited to 2 portions per person. The clerk shot me a surprised look but didn't ask questions. After confirming the tickets were all in order, she quickly wrapped everything in oil paper and handed it over. Carrying the heavy load of food, I ducked into a secluded spot. With a flick of my mind, I kept just 1 meat bun and stored the rest in my space. The space was great, but this little bit of food already filled 4 slots. Not enough. I needed to get more gold and level it up faster. But once I got to the countryside, I could use the golden spirit infusion to multiply this prepared food tenfold. The meat bun was huge and incredibly fragrant. I ate until grease dripped down my chin, squinting with happiness, then gulped down a whole canteen of spirit spring water, pure bliss. Wait, something's off. I rubbed my stomach. Why do I feel even hungrier? Reluctant to touch the other buns, I pulled out 2 big steamed buns, wolfed them down, and finished off with an apple before I finally felt satisfied. My appetite had literally tripled. Smack. I slapped my forehead, then secretly pulled out 50 pounds of rice and lifted it effortlessly. I sucked in a sharp breath. Bigger appetite, more strength too. Is this what the spirit spring does? Whatever. It's a good thing. Leaving the restaurant, I headed straight for the health clinic to find head nurse Wang Kaifeng. Her nephew had been a doctor's apprentice for over a year, always a temp worker, never with a permanent position. I got straight to the point. Head nurse Wang, my job. Would your nephew want to take it over? I'm planning to transfer it. Wang Kaifeng froze, then reacted with shock and delight, lowering her voice. Little Sue, really? You're giving up this iron rice bowl? In these times, a permanent position was a coveted prize. I'd already prepared my story, letting a touch of sadness show on my face at just the right moment. Yeah, my uncle wants me to get married, and my in-laws want me to be a homemaker and raise the kids. They don't want me out in public. Leaving the position empty would just be a waste. Better to give it to someone who needs it more. Call it a contribution to the revolutionary healthcare cause. Those in-laws of yours are real old fossils. Wang Kaifeng wanted to comfort me but didn't know what to say. Still, her nephew's situation was more pressing. Are you really sure about this? I nodded. She sighed and named a price. All right, 1,200. Sound fair. Ordinary jobs these days went for 400 or 500, supply co-op positions for 700 or 800, and permanent clinic positions cost even more. Fair, I nodded. Terrified I changed my mind, Wang Kaifeng immediately dragged me off to find the personnel department, citing special family circumstances, voluntary departure. On the grounds that I was resigning, with Wang Guohua recommended to fill the position, they processed the paperwork lightning fast. Money and goods settled, my personnel file was completely severed. Leaving the HR office, I headed back to the clinic as usual, saw a few patients like always, doing my last bit of duty. Then, using the excuse that I was heading to the countryside soon and needed to stock up on medicine, I wrote myself a prescription. It included chloramphenicol, a broad-spectrum antibiotic. Prescription in hand, I went to the pharmacy. Sister Zhang, sorry to trouble you. I'm here to pick up some meds. Sister Zhang was sitting with her legs crossed, knitting a sweater. Her hands didn't stop. She finished a whole row of stitches before getting up. Coming to get it yourself, little Sue? Have a seat. I'll grab it for you. The moment she turned around, my hand casually brushed past that row of glass chloramphenicol bottles as if by accident. With a flick of thought, all 50 vials on the shelf vanished instantly, tucked into my space. Inside the space, I used the free golden infusion I'd gotten from leveling up. A flash of golden light, 10-fold return, and 500 vials of chloramphenicol were stacked neatly in the corner. So much medicine. Felt incredibly reassuring. After copying them, I quickly returned the original 50 vials to the shelf, exactly as they were. No one was the wiser. A moment later, Sister Zhang came over carrying a basket and handed me the meds. Thank you, Sister Zhang. Don't mention it. These meds were all obtained legitimately, so I deliberately prepared a medical kit to pack them in. By now my medicine supply was nearly complete. Penicillin, streptomycin, chloramphenicol, painkillers, hemostatic powder, gauze, tape, alcohol, iodine, a set of silver needles, plus a few precious syringes and surgical instruments. The quantities were small, but once I got to the countryside, I could pick one type each day for a 10-fold return, and combined with acupuncture, I'd be able to handle the vast majority of illnesses. The original owner had suffered endlessly in the countryside, crying out to a heaven that never answered. But when I went down, I wouldn't have to endure any of that misery. At noon, I made a special trip to the Red Star restaurant, deliberately ordering the heartiest dishes to take away. Braised pork for 3 yuan, a whole braised chicken for 3 yuan, sweet and sour carp for 350, braised pork knuckle for 4 yuan, plus a few stir-fries and 2 big basins of rice, all stored away in my space. Thinking about the future 10-fold return, I couldn't bring myself to eat the meat. I made do with 2 big bowls of plain rice and a plate of shredded potatoes for lunch. At 3 in the afternoon, Zhou Yenshin showed up early, just as expected. He'd swapped out his military uniform for a well-fitted Zhongshan suit. His long legs were especially striking, giving his figure a tall, commanding presence. Comrade Su, I'm here for the treatment. His tone was calm as ever. Seeing how braced and ready he looked, I suddenly felt the urge to tease him. With a completely straight face, I pointed at the exam table. All right, strip. Zhou Yenshin. In that instant, countless images probably flashed through his mind. He'd heard acupuncture meant sticking needles wherever it hurt. So then, did that mean he was going to get turned into a pincushion down there? His body visibly stiffened, and his ears flushed red at a visible rate. Even his voice went taut. All of it. That tone. He sounded just like an innocent gentleman about to be taken advantage of. Pfft. I couldn't hold back my laughter and quickly waved my hand. What are you thinking, Comrade Joe? This is revolutionary treatment. Keep your mind pure. Just the shirt. He audibly relaxed, but the red on his ears crept down to his neck. He unbuttoned his shirt, revealing solid arms and a powerful chest. This physique, this face, it was better than anything computer-generated. Even seeing it a second time, I couldn't help swallowing quietly to myself. When will I finally get to have a taste? My icy fingertips slid across his pecs and abs, making him itch inside too. He suppressed the strangeness of it and comforted himself. She must be looking for acupuncture points. Someone as proper as Comrade Sue. How could she possibly be touching him on purpose? Don't think crazy thoughts. I was inserting needles at the points that strengthen the kidneys and boost vitality, to help him recover sooner. By the time he came back to his senses, all the silver needles had already been removed, and I was smilingly handing him a mug of water. He pushed aside his stray thoughts, thanked me, and drank it down in one go, finding the water much sweeter and clearer than usual. Comrade Joe, wait here. I'll go hand over my work, then we'll head out. By the time I'd finished all my resignation paperwork and came back carrying the big medical kit, his long, slender hands had already taken the box from me. I'll carry it. Then, feeling like he'd been a bit too forceful, he deliberately explained, my job today is to help Comrade Sue carry things. Who doesn't love a man who rushes to do the work? I grinned. Then I'll trouble you, Comrade Joe. He said nothing, only feeling like he had boundless energy today with nowhere to put it. The two of us climbed into the grass-green Liberation truck he'd driven over. The truck roared as it pulled away from the health center. Incredibly impressive. The head nurse turned sour with envy. Had she known I was marrying someone like this, she never would have set such a high price to buy that job. In the truck, Zhou Yenshin asked, is everything settled with your family about moving out today? Your aunt said earlier to keep everything simple. He paused. The Zhou family had converted everything into cash, but now that the woman was actually being married in, they couldn't very well let her come empty-handed. There's still a bicycle voucher at home. We'll stop by the department store first and get the bike sorted out. I don't have sewing machine or watch vouchers at the moment, but I'll figure something out. No need to get those. My heart warmed slightly. I was heading to the countryside tomorrow. I couldn't take those things with me anyway. I'd like to get some other things. I don't get along with my uncle's family, so I'll just say a quick hello and be done with it. His hand paused on the steering wheel. Remembering my situation in the Sue household, his voice softened. All right. You decide what you need. The truck pulled up to the Sue family's rundown courtyard, immediately drawing a crowd of gawking neighbors. Aunt Zhang, cracking sunflower seeds, asked sourly, Wanqing, how'd you come back in a Liberation truck? Who's this comrade? I hopped down from the truck and said with a smile, Aunt Zhang, this is my husband, Comrade Zhou Yenshin. The organization approved our marriage. I'm here today to pack up my things and move to the army compound. Zhou Yenshin kept his steady composure, only standing a little straighter now that he was beside me. What? Little Sue, you're already married. Oh my, such a handsome comrade, Wanqing. You've really landed a good one. Isn't Comrade Zhou the one Xielanhua's always going on about? Right in the middle of the gossip, a horrific wail and Xielanhua's cursing suddenly erupted from inside the Sue house. I grabbed Zhou Yenshin and rushed inside. Gotta run, Aunt Zhang. Something's going on at home. Hurry. Any slower and I'd miss the drama. The neighbors were beside themselves with curiosity, clawing at their ears and scratching their cheeks. In the split second I opened the door, they only caught a glimpse of Su Yaoguang strung up and being beaten, but couldn't make out what was actually going on. You ungrateful, cold-hearted wolf in sheep's clothing. How dare you steal money from this family? That's our entire life savings. I told you not to buy that damn camera, so you just went and stole the money? Stole it and then treated a bunch of street hoodlums to a feast. I'll beat you to death, you good for nothing. Uncle Sue's face was livid. He gripped the broom and lashed at Su Yaoguang with all his might. I'll teach you to steal. No wonder you refused to eat this morning. Turns out you stole my money to go play big shot. Today I'm gonna break your legs. Su Yaoguang howled under the beating. I didn't steal it. That money just appeared in my cabinet. Bullshit. Since when does money grow legs? Xielanhua pounced and clawed at him. How'd a camera worth hundreds just fly into your arms? Where'd you hide the rest of the money? Su Yaoguang kicked his legs wildly from the pain. The camera really did just appear out of nowhere. I just took Gongzi and the others to Red Star Restaurant, bought everyone a pack of Great Front Gate cigarettes, then went to the department store for some polyester fabric and leather shoes. The money's all gone. There's really nothing left. I swear I didn't steal it. The more you talk, the crazier it gets. Still won't admit it. Uncle Sue gave him another furious thrashing. Hearing Red Star Restaurant, leather shoes, And polyester. Xie Lanhua nearly fainted from heartache. At that moment, Su Lingshan, who had been sitting in the corner with a dark expression, suddenly rushed over, her eyes frighteningly vicious. She snatched the broom and swung it at Su Yaoguang like her life depended on it. My money. That was supposed to be my money. Thousands of yuan. She screamed inside. What kind of garbage plot revision was this? It wasn't following the script at all. That money was originally meant for her. She'd steal it once she activated her space. It was supposed to be the first pot of gold that launched her fortune. Now 1,000 had already been split off by me, and this idiot cousin had stolen and blown the rest ahead of time. Her entire plan was in shambles. If getting the marriage certificate with Hao Jiangwo hadn't gone relatively smoothly today, she'd have started doubting whether she was even the female lead. Su Yaoguang wailed under the blows. I didn't take it. I only took the 200 from the iron box. You're framing me. Boo-hoo. The corners of my mouth curved up slightly. Only the person who framed you knows just how wronged you really are. And I certainly knew how wronged he was. Ever since childhood, the original owner had washed clothes for the whole family, waited on this cousin like a slave, and been bullied by him constantly. This beating, he wasn't taking it for nothing. The whole family was in complete chaos now. No one had noticed me and Zhou Yenshin come in. Once I'd watched enough of the show, I walked straight into the storage room and pulled out my small meager bundle of belongings. I walked up to Uncle Su, who was still panting with rage, and said flatly, Uncle, I'm here to get my things. I'm moving out now. Only then did he notice me and Zhou Yenshin at the door. His old face flushed. Oh right. Commander Zhou is here too? Sorry you had to see this. Tell you what, when Wanqing comes back to visit the day after tomorrow, let's all have a family meal together. Zhou Yenshin's face remained expressionless. He gave only a slight nod and said nothing. I couldn't be bothered with the pleasantries. I grabbed my bundle, turned and walked out. This plot had changed too. In the original story, the Su family should have been celebrating my cousin's marriage to director Hao right about now, handing out candy everywhere, showing off. Who would have had time for us? Looks like they were still eyeing that box of gold of mine. Too bad. I'm heading to the countryside tomorrow. Back in the car, Zhou Yenshin looked at the small, deflated bundle by my leg, and his brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. Your luggage. This is all of it? I looked down and nodded frankly. The bedding and wash basins were all left behind by my parents over 10 years ago. Too worn out to use, so I didn't bother. He fell silent, his grip on the steering wheel tightening. He'd come to help carry her luggage, and this pitiful little bundle was all there was. It said everything about the kind of life she'd lived at the Su household all these years. He pressed his lips together. The Su family had saved his life, and now that debt was repaid. From here on, he wouldn't be agreeing to any more of their unreasonable demands. He didn't ask anything else. He started the car, his voice steady. Let's go. To the department store. Whatever you need for daily life, we'll get it all. That was exactly what I'd been waiting to hear. Perfect timing to stock up before heading to the countryside. In the original story, at this point in time, Zhou Yenshin's home had been raided, everything hauled away, all the money taken. The original owner and her mother-in-law had raised hell, one refusing to let them take the furniture, the other refusing to go to the countryside. They fought all night, but the next day they were forced onto the train anyway. The three of them brought nothing and starved for 3 days before reaching their resettlement site. Nothing but hard times ahead. This time, of course, I was going to be fully prepared. I'd bring everything. Comrade Zhou, you're really too good to me. Thank you. He gave an expressionless then casually pulled out an iron box. The rest of the coupons and money I promised you yesterday. My mother manages her own funds. This is my salary from all these years, about 4,000 yuan. Take it. From now on, I'll be troubling you to manage our expenses. Listen to that phrasing, framing spending money on her, as troubling her to manage things. Who wouldn't love to hear that? My eyes instantly lit up like stars. Wow. Comrade Zhou, you even remembered this. Then I'll take it. Don't worry. I'll definitely take good care of our little household. Yesterday's 912 yuan came back tenfold, minus 50, leaving 412. Add the 112 Zhou Yenshin gave me yesterday, the 3,850 I'd swiped from the Su family, the 1,200 from selling the job placement, plus today's 4,000, my savings were now over 9,000? No. All of this could be returned tenfold too. That was 90,000. Once the reform and opening up fully kicked in, I'd be able to buy to my heart's content. Still, I plan to avoid using the gold-filling spirit on cash and coupons as much as possible. They came out identical, right down to the serial numbers. Way too risky legally speaking. Then again, in the original story all this money and property got confiscated. But since Zhou Yenshin had promised it to me yesterday, He brought it along when we left this morning. Through sheer coincidence, it never got seized, and it all ended up in my pocket. He seemed a little uncomfortable under my sparkling gaze. There are also a few bolts of fabric, wool and silk in bright colors. You women should like them. And some odds and ends. Take whatever catches your eye. Even though all of this would have originally been confiscated, I was still stunned. Wow, this man was genuinely generous. He practically wanted to hand over his entire fortune to me. Compared to how he treated the original owner in the original plot, this was a world of difference. I quit while I was ahead and quickly waved my hand. That's plenty, Comrade Joe. You've already given me so much. The car soon pulled up in front of the Binhai City department store. It was a squarish Soviet-style building with a huge red banner hanging over the entrance. Inside, glass counters were lined up in neat rows, packed with a dazzling array of goods, though quantities were limited. Brother Yenshin. What a coincidence you're shopping too. A young woman in a fashionable linen suit, her two glossy braids neatly plaited, lit up as her eyes like the butterfly flitting girl came rushing over. Her eyes were glued to Zhou Yenshin, completely ignoring me. Zhou Yenshin took half a step back and gave a cool nod. Helping your sister-in-law shop. This is your sister-in-law, Comrade Su Wanqing. Then he immediately turned to me to report. This is my cousin, Comrade Lin Tingting. Me? Sister-in-law. The smile on Lin Tingting's face froze instantly. Only then did she seem to actually notice me, looking me up and down, taking in my worn half-old clothes, her eyes full of contempt. Oh, so this was the vicious love-obsessed second female lead from the original story. The one who chased the male lead all the way out to the countryside and teamed up with the wicked mother-in-law to bully the original owner of this body. This was her. Naturally, I looped my arm through Zhou Yenshin's and gave an intimate smile. Nice to meet you, cousin. I'm Su Wanqing, Yenshin's wife. We registered our marriage just yesterday, and today he's helping me buy things for the wedding. Lin Tingting's face went pale in an instant. She forced out a smile. Is that so? Why didn't Auntie tell me? Congratulations. I came to buy a few things too. Let's go together. I nodded with a smile. Sure. I could see right through her. This woman had already schemed to pawn off the Su family's daughter onto Hao Jiangwo. So where did this new one who'd already registered a marriage come from? She was almost certainly trying to wreck this marriage. Zhou Yenshin had to be hers. Too bad. I had no intention of letting her get her way. We went to the fabric counter first. I knew life would be hard out at the resettlement site. Cloth was hard currency, you could trade it for grain, use it to build connections. Comrade, this work canvas, cut me 10 zhong 5 qi. Lin Tingting covered her nose with a handkerchief. This cloth is so stiff and coarse. You can wear it, but can Brother Yenshin? When in his whole life has my cousin ever had to suffer like that? She wasn't wrong either. Zhou Yenshin was a young master born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but precisely because he'd never lacked for anything, he didn't care about material things at all. I answered righteously, cousin, that's not the right attitude. Chairman Mao teaches us that thrift is a treasure to be passed down. This cloth is sturdy and durable. That's the true spirit of the working people. Yenshin and I are both revolutionary comrades. What's shameful about wearing it to build up the nation? Zhou Yenshin nodded, then turned to look at her, brows knitting. Comrade Wanqing is right. When it comes to clothing, what matters first is practicality and having the right mindset. Say things like that again and you can stop tagging along with us. Lin Tingting was so choked she turned bright red, muttering under her breath. You talk about thrift, but she's buying this much. Is she going to wear it into her next life? I looked at Zhou Yenshin. After my father passed, his old comrades did a lot to look after me. My job at the health clinic came from them too. Now that I'm getting married, I ought to share the good news with them. I'd like to cut some cloth to thank them. Really though, my main goal was to trade it for grain and build connections with the locals once we'd been resettled. Zhou Yenshin nodded seriously. Comrade Su Wanqing makes a good point. The clerk beside us grew impatient. You two done arguing? Do you want it or not? Zhou Yenshin. We do, comrade. 5 jiao per chi plus cloth ration coupons. Just on fabric alone I spent 55 yuan. Next I bought flannel cloth, wool yarn, army green rubber shoes and padded work shoes, 68 yuan. These scarce goods, bought through legitimate channels, could be pulled out later and traded on the black market for 10 times their value. My eyes were only on supplies. If it was useful, I bought it. The general merchandise section. Mantle clocks, flashlights, thermoses, toothpaste, toothbrushes, soap, towels, enamel wash basins, enamel mugs. I could hardly imagine what a charmed life I'd be living out in the countryside once I had all this. Zhou Yenshin was like a machine executing orders. Whatever I bought, he'd swoop in and take it. In no time, even the arm he leaned his cane on was hung full of bags. Cousin, don't just stand there idle. Brother Yenshin can't carry any more. Here, take these. Zhou Yinshan nodded. Your sister-in-law isn't very strong. You carry more. Then how come she isn't carrying anything at all? Lin Tingting was about ready to explode. When we got to the food counter, I bought whatever was priciest: milk candy, hard fruit candy, canned fruit, canned luncheon meat, stuffing it all into her arms like it was free. That luncheon meat was 5 yuan for one little can. These good things didn't require coupons. If I didn't stock up while in the city, I'd never see them again once I was in the countryside. Lin Tingting couldn't hold back any longer. Cousin, aren't you going to rein your wife in? It's not even a holiday, and she's being so wasteful. How is buying food and nutritional supplements wasteful? Seeing how thin and small I was, Zhou Yinshan only felt sorry for me. She can buy as much as she wants. Then he asked me, is it enough? Want to buy some more? I pulled out my handkerchief and dabbed at sweat that wasn't there at all. You've worked so hard, Comrade Zhou Yinshan. Let's buy some malted milk powder too, to build you back up. It's no trouble. He was practically bursting with energy. Lin Tingting stamped her foot. This woman was so simpering. Wasn't that exactly the type her cousin despised most? She buys a pair of 30 yuan leather shoes and it's extravagance and waste, but this woman spends hundreds on food and it's not wasteful? Where's the fairness in that double standard? By the time I was cradling armfuls of dried noodles and malted milk powder, I'd nearly used up all my coupons, and only then did we head out. Luckily, Zhou Yinshan had a few big woven sacks stashed in his car. We packed everything into them. Comrade Zhou Yinshan, you must be hungry. You're wounded, you need to eat well. Come on, my treat. I'll get you something good. Lin Tingting wasn't having it. He's wounded, and yet she still makes him carry all this stuff? But she followed us anyway into the state-run workers' peasants' soldiers' restaurant. I ordered braised pork, chicken stewed with mushrooms, stewed fish, stir-fried greens, and rice. All natural, pollution-free. It was delicious. I polished off 2 big bowls of rice and a large bowl of soup by myself. Zhou Yinshan ate heartily too, 3 big bowls, no problem. Lin Tingting poked at her rice. Sister-in-law, don't you eat an awful lot? I swallowed my mouthful of meat and gave an easy smile. You've got to be healthy to take care of brother Yinshan after all. Then I turned my head. Comrade Yinshan, this meat is really good. I'd like to bring some home for mom too. Zhou Yinshan was about to say that his mother didn't eat greasy food. But that one phrase, Mom, left him stunned. She'd already stepped into the role of wife and accepted me as her husband. His mother had been so unkind to her yesterday, yet she was repaying cruelty with kindness. It seemed she truly regarded me as family. Then whatever grief his mother had caused her, he'd make up for it twice over from now on. At the thought he nodded. Take whatever you think is right. If his mother wouldn't eat it, he would, nothing wasted. I laughed to myself. It was precisely because I knew Zhou's mother wouldn't touch meat that I ordered extra portions. The perfect excuse to stash away more cooked food in my space for the train ride. 3 days of travel with nothing to eat would be miserable. Otherwise, would I really have been kind enough to bring food home for that wicked mother-in-law? Well, I'd taken the woman's gold, so I'd grudgingly bring back just a tiny bit. Waiter, the braised. 1 order each of beef, guabao roe, fried fish, and roast chicken. 3 servings each of pickled cabbage, salted vegetables, and pickles. 10 white flour steamed buns. Actually, I'm not sure if mom prefers buns or rice. Never mind, throw in a bowl of rice too. Pack it all up. When I finished, I made a point of shooting Lin Tingting a glance. Cousin, that's so much. How could auntie ever finish all of it? Zhou Yinshan turned straight to the waiter. Do exactly what she said. The meal ended with Lin Tingting stewing in frustration, and me thoroughly satisfied. On our way out, I dragged him to the supply co-op to buy matches and salt. Looking at the mountain of spoils piled up in the truck bed, I felt completely content. Cousin, it's not really convenient to have you over at the house today. I linked my arm through Zhou Yinshan's and smiled bashfully. Well, today's my first day moving into your brother's place. We've got serious business to attend to tonight after all. Tonight? Serious business. Lin Tingting's face turned green. That little fox. Putting it so bluntly, that she wanted to sleep with her cousin. No way. She had to come along. But cousin, I still want to see auntie. And your leg hasn't healed. You shouldn't be straining yourself. Zhou Yinshan cleared his throat, cutting her off. That's enough. It's getting dark, so head home early. With that, he shut the car door. And the truck roared off in a cloud of dust, leaving her choking on a face full of dirt. In the car, I let out a snort of laughter. That cousin of yours is quite something. I'd seen right through her little schemes. Zhou Yinshan grunted. Don't bother with her. If she gets on your nerves, just pull rank as her sister-in-law and put her in her place. Got it. I was in a great mood. Comrade Yinshan, let's swing by the home of one of my father's old comrades in arms first. I want to drop off some fabric. Sure. I narrowed my eyes. On this little delivery run, I had one big surprise saved up for that female lead cousin of his. I was going to cut off every last one of her escape routes. After dropping off the fabric, the truck reached the gates of the military compound. I called for him to stop. Let's stop here. I just ate and I'd like to take a walk with you to help it settle. Want to walk the rest of the way home? It was 7 o'clock now. The Zhou family home was probably being sealed off at this very moment. Driving a whole truckload of goods straight in would be like a lamb walking into a tiger's den. Zhou Yinshan paused. All right. After getting out, he moved to grab the goods, but I stopped him. It's too much stuff. Let's just take what we need for tonight, the essentials and the food. We'll come back for the rest tomorrow. He thought it over and agreed. There was no way to walk with your wife while lugging around a mountain of bags. So the two of us took a few large bundles. A new cotton quilt, toothpaste, soap, towels, a water thermos, prepared food, and one big cloth sack of candy. I unwrapped a piece of candy. Comrade Zhou Yinshan, open up. I popped it into his mouth. His lips were thin and soft, a little moist. He froze for a moment. My hand was sweet-smelling and cool, and for an instant he wanted to pull it against his chest to warm it, but he forced himself to hold back. No, wait. She was his wife. Why couldn't he hold her hand? He regretted it, that he hadn't reached for his wife's little hand right away. Is it sweet? I unwrapped one for myself too. Fruit candy really was sweet, though it was all just food coloring. I'd have to cut back on it later, way too unhealthy. Zhou Yinshan watched me carefully collect all the candy wrappers and asked gently, "What are you keeping the wrappers for?" I smiled. "To fold paper cranes. Once I've saved up a whole jar, I'll give them to you." How's that sound? A lie, of course. The candy was to bribe the people from the Revolutionary Committee, to get them to look the other way and let me bring extra luggage. His Adam's apple bobbed, and something soft inside him seemed to melt into water. All right. Thank you, Comrade Su Wanqing. He wanted to give her a gift in return. There was still some gold among the family's ancestral property back home. His wife seemed to like that sort of thing, didn't she? As we talked, we arrived at the Zhou family home. The moment we rounded the entrance, we saw several people in cadre uniforms, red Revolutionary Committee armbands strapped to their sleeves. One of them was in the middle of arguing with Zhou's mother. The pleasant mood shattered in an instant. Zhou Yinshan's face darkened as he strode forward. Comrade Political Commissar Zhang? What brings you here? What's going on? The man at the head of the group was none other than Political Commissar Zhang from the army. He produced a document, his tone gentler than I'd expected. Comrade Zhou Yinshan, a report has been filed against you. After careful deliberation, the organization has decided, given your mother's historical problems and current policy, that your entire family will go to the Xinjiang Production and Construction Corps to take part in labor reform. Here are your transfer orders. Bincheng was over 3,000 kilometers from Xinjiang. It was the harshest place there was. He paused, his gaze complicated. This housing and your organizational affiliation will be held for you for the time being. Once your mother shows real progress in her reform, we can discuss reinstating you. Another man added, luggage is limited to no more than 2 standard parcels per person. No items reflecting a bourgeois lifestyle are permitted. We'll be conducting an inventory and sealing everything now. Zhou's mother grew agitated. My Camp Horwood chest and my phonograph. Those are the last things my parents left me. I don't care about anything else, but those 2 things stay. The officials frowned and stepped forward to apply the seals. Zhou's mother clung to them desperately. Commissar Zhang looked at Zhou Yinshan at a loss. Comrade Yinshan, you see. Zhou Yinshan had finished reading the document, his brow tightly knit. Commissar Zhang, I submit to the organization's decision. Whatever needs to be sealed, seal it according to the rules. I won't say a word against it. Then his tone shifted, and he gently nudged me half a step forward. But Comrade Su Wanqing and I only registered our marriage yesterday. The report was filed before that. Her record is clean, she's an excellent medical worker. She shouldn't be included in this transfer. He drew a deep breath. If the organization deems it necessary, I'm willing to file for divorce with her immediately, so she isn't dragged down with me. Those words sent a jolt through my heart. In the original storyline, the moment the original owner heard she'd be sent down to endure hardship in the countryside, she screamed and shouted to sever ties with him, and after a moment's silence, Zhou Yinshan too had brought up divorce. Zhou's mother had wailed and thrown a fit, refusing to let them apply the seals, refusing to let them divorce, an utterly ugly scene. In the end, all 3 were hauled away in disgrace, unable to bring anything with them. But now, Zhou Yinshan had actually offered to divorce me himself, to protect me. You can't divorce. If you do, who'll wait on us? But Yinshan, you have to tell them. My Camp Horwood chest and phonograph absolutely must stay. Zhou's mother started wailing again. As expected, Commissar Zhang shook his head and refused. Divorcing now would only give people ammunition against you. I'm afraid Comrade Su Wanqing will just have to endure the hardship along with the rest of you. Zhou Yinshan's brow furrowed deep. He hadn't married a wife to have someone wait on him or to drag her through suffering, especially a delicate woman like me, who couldn't even carry her own luggage. How was I supposed to do backbreaking farm work in the countryside? And there was no telling when this exile would ever end. He couldn't ruin the rest of my life. Commissar, I've never asked you for anything before. He was about to keep speaking when he felt a cool little hand gently settle over his. The hand was so small it only managed to grasp his fingers. His body went rigid, and he looked at me in astonishment. I lifted my face and shook my head with a smile. Comrade Zhou Yinshan, thank you for looking out for me. But please don't bring up divorce again. I turned to the political commissar. Commissar Zhang, since Comrade Zhou Yinshan and I are now revolutionary partners, we should share both the sweet and the bitter. The construction corps is a place the motherland needs too. I'm willing to go with him. No matter where we are, we're serving the people. Zhou Yinshan looked visibly shaken, and admiration flickered in Commissar Zhang's eyes. Oh right, look at all this commotion. We just got married and I bought wedding candy today specially. Haven't even had a chance to hand it out to the comrades yet. I pulled several big bags of colorful candy out of my cloth sack and, allowing no refusal, pressed them into their hands. Just a small token, come share in our joy. I spoke earnestly. Please, the organization can rest assured. Comrade Zhou Yinshan and I will firmly obey the arrangement. We'll work hard, reform our thinking, and never let anyone down. That did it. Commissar Zhang and the men doing the confiscation all looked guilty now. See there, what a fine comrade. Just got married and ran into all this. Commissar Zhang nodded, his tone softening. Comrade Su Wanqing has real political awareness. Everyone except her token of goodwill. She just got married and volunteered to go to the countryside herself. Wherever we can ease up, let's ease up. Well, if Commissar Zhang says so, then we'll accept it. Comrade Su, wishing you and Comrade Zhou a healthy son soon. The mood lightened all at once. I seized the moment and pressed further, saying bashfully, Commissar, we just bought all the necessities for setting up our home today. Thermos, cups, bedding, clothes, all the things you need for daily life. It's a long journey, so we might have a bit more luggage. Commissar Zhang waved his hand grandly. Understood. Completely understood. Your newlyweds, bring what you need. As long as it's not contraband, a little extra is no problem. I'll put in a word with the station and the folks out in the countryside. Wherever they can accommodate you, they will. He was thinking, how much luggage could there really be? Little did he know, I was planning a full-on move. I pointed at Zhou's mother, who was clutching the phonograph and refusing to let go. And on my mother's side, she can leave everything else behind, just bring this trunk and the phonograph. Yeah, let her lug these two things along and suffer for it. Once she's squeezed to a pulp on the train, hungry and parched, I'd love to see what this wicked mother-in-law does then. But I was committed to this persona. In front of Zhou Yinshan, I would play the role of the good daughter-in-law who loves her mother-in-law yet gets bullied by her. As for reality, well, Commissar Zhang glanced at the whole bag of candy in his hand. The countryside assignment was settled. Everything else was minor. He nodded. These 2 items are specially approved to go. Everything else that's against regulations gets confiscated and sealed away. Thank you, Commissar. Thank you to the organization. I hurried to express my gratitude. Zhou's mother collapsed onto the floor, clutching the phonograph, watching helplessly as they emptied out the house, not even sparing the old furniture or the beds. In the end, the entire Zhou household was bare. Thank you, Comrade Su Wanqing. What's there to thank? These are hard times, we need to pull together as one. Hurry and pack what we need for tomorrow morning. Zhou Yinshan fell silent for a moment. Fortunately, she bought so many practical supplies today. And fortunately, she'd said she wanted to take a walk to help digest her meal and hadn't brought the things back. Otherwise, even if the commissar eased up, the Revolutionary Committee would never let people being sent down to the countryside take away canned beef and canned fruit. Was all of this just too much of a coincidence? Still, coincidence or not, it didn't matter. Since they were going to the countryside, he needed to prepare too. Comrade Su Wanqing, you start packing first, there's a lot. I'll go borrow some tools and build a cart to haul the stuff back from the truck. Okay. Neither of us made a fuss. Zhou Yinshan went out and when he came back, he was pushing a flatbed cart piled high. All the things we'd bought at the department store today. After setting the things down, he headed out again. I had no idea what for. I did the math in my head. Whatever was left behind was what we could take. The enamel mug, the small iron pot, the enamel bowls, the aluminum lunchbox, all coming with us. The army overcoats, the bedding and quilts, all going too. The grain would go into my space. I'd leave a bit out for show. The department store goods too, more than half hidden away in my space. I had no time to deal with Joe's mother. I just focused on packing everything I could take, secretly reducing the amounts and stuffing them into my space. By the small hours, it was all compressed into 7 big bundles. Zhou Yinshan still wasn't back. So I made a few unleavened flatbreads and boiled 20 eggs, wrapping them in a soft cloth. I boiled salted peanuts too, drained them and packed them in a cloth bag. Pickled vegetables and preserves went into a big enamel lunchbox. Cooked food was portioned out and packed. Steamed buns went into a gauze bag, and rice went into the lunchbox. Enough food for a full 3 days. The soy milk I'd gotten from the state-run restaurant yesterday went into the new thermos, and rock sugar water was poured into the army canteen. In the meantime, I also used today's tenfold return. 1 dish of braised chicken became a full 10 servings. Tomorrow and the day after, I'd give the tenfold return to the braised beef, fried fish, and red braised pork too. Then I'd never have to worry about good food in the countryside. I couldn't bring it out in the open, but I could sneak and eat it myself. With the food all sorted out, I hadn't even had a chance to sleep when Zhou Yinshan finally came back, travel-worn and covered in a wave of heat, sweat beading at the tip of his nose. For the first time, he pulled me into the little room and took several hard objects out from inside his pants. "Keep these safe for me." I startled and was about to ask, but he covered my mouth. "Don't ask where they came from. In the countryside, these are all as good as gold. Keep them safe." He brought back not only a few small gold bars, but also several yuan data silver dollars, along with a thick stack of nationally valid grain coupons and cloth coupons. Honestly, out there, these things were even more useful than money. I was genuinely thrilled. In the original story, the original owner and Zhou's mother had fought nearly until dawn, and Zhou Yinshan had had no time at all to gather these things. I nodded. "Okay, I won't ask. Leave them with me, you can rest easy." I stayed up through the night sewing myself a pair of pouches for my underwear, one in front, one in back. The gold and silver dollars went into my space, while the cloth coupons and money were all sewn into my innermost clothing. These took up too many slots in my space. By the time I finished, the sky was already beginning to lighten. All packed. Zhou Yinshan had only had time to change into ordinary clothes and grab a few changes. I pointed at the luggage piled up filling nearly half the room, plus 1 large medicine box, and nodded. All set. But right as we were about to leave, we were both dumbfounded. Piled up at the doorway were the luggage items Zhou's mother had packed, big and small. Dressed in a fitting dark-colored qipao, she sat elegantly off to one side. "Yinshan, figure out a way to bring all of Mama's luggage along. Didn't the commissar say we're allowed to bring a bit extra? You call this luggage?" The camphor chest was crammed with kipeos, high heels and silk scarves. Fine. She'd even packed a phonograph. Okay, whatever. But now there was a giant tub for bathing, a porcelain teapot with a fancy handle, delicate china teacups. My head was pounding. In the original story, when did she ever have time to fuss over all this? Now look, she dug out a whole pile of useless junk. Zhou Yinshan frowned deeply. "Mom, we're going to the countryside for labor reform. Not to sip tea and listen to music. Look how much we already have to bring. There's no way this stuff is getting on the train." He gestured at the mountain of even more ridiculous luggage piled up in the room. Zhou's mother shot it a disdainful glance. "Why on earth are we bringing all those tattered cotton coats and green rubber boots? I'm not used to using those. And if I don't take this tub, how am I supposed to bathe out in the country?" Then unbelievably she started crying like she'd been wronged. "My whole life, when have I ever not been waited on? Being forced to go suffer in the countryside is bad enough. Now I have to live like those dirt-poor peasants too? What's the point of living like this? I might as well be dead." This wicked mother-in-law really knew how to put on a show. I briskly scooped up the medical kit, shouldered the big backpack, slung 2 large water jugs across me, and filled both hands with food. Before heading out, I gave Zhou Yinshan a tired but understanding smile. "Comrade Yinshan, there's too much to carry. I'll take these ahead and wait for you at the intersection. As for the rest of what we bought yesterday, if it's really too much to carry, don't force it." And with that, I walked off without looking back. I wasn't about to play the villain. If I made a scene, it'd become a conflict between me and the wicked mother-in-law, and that would only put Zhou Yinshan in a tough spot. Better to toss the problem back to him. It was between him and his mother. Zhou Yinshan pressed his lips together. How could he possibly leave behind the things his wife had worked so hard to gather? Besides, she shouldn't have had to suffer any of this. She'd only gotten dragged into it because of him. And yet, not only did she not blame him, she'd organized everything neatly and carefully prepared food for the road, thoughtful in every way. Compared to his own mother's tantrums, he turned around and started strapping the remaining bundles onto the cart. As he tied them down, he said, "Mom, you can hold on to your own keepsakes. Take as many as you can carry. But I've got to bring the things we'll actually need in the countryside. And another thing. He paused, his voice turning serious. Stop talking to Comrade Wanqing about being waited on. She's your daughter-in-law. I'm asking you to treat her the way you treat me. Otherwise, the one who ends up suffering will be your own son. Once he'd packed everything up, he hurried off to catch up with me. There was no way he'd let his wife carry all that on her own. Hey, you ungrateful brat. How am I supposed to carry all this by myself? I'm only doing this so you can have an easier time. But before Zhou's mother could finish, he was already long gone. She stamped her foot, then finally hauled the chest, lugged the phonograph in her handbag, and trailed after us, cursing the whole way. We squeezed onto the packed green train and found our hard seats. Zhou Yenshin stuffed the big bundle onto the luggage rack and shoved the rest under the seats. At last we were settled. I took the window seat, Zhou Yenshin sat beside me, and his mother sat across from us. I recited to myself. The train ride was glossed over in the original text. It just said the three of them went hungry for 3 days. Sounds like there won't be any drama. I'd barely relaxed when Zhou's mother crossed her legs. I'm thirsty. Daughter-in-law, go get me some hot water. Since I'd taken her gold, I was apparently supposed to wait on her and her son for the rest of my life. Otherwise she'd never let it go. Before I could say a word, Zhou Yenshin had already gotten up, leaning on his cane to go get the water. All Zhou's mother could do was silently curse this little fox for bewitching her son in just 2 days, but she didn't dare order me around anymore. The corners of my mouth lifted slightly. What a good man. He was telling the wicked mother-in-law through his actions. He had my back. The worst kind is the blockhead husband who says he cares but plays dumb the moment something happens. With one of those mother-in-law conflicts turned the whole house upside down. Zhou Yenshin pushed through the crowd, got the water and handed it to his mother. I immediately passed him a water jug. You worked hard hauling all that luggage, you must be tired. Have some of the sugar water I made. He took it and drank a big gulp, then looked at me in surprise. The water was ice cold and sweet. I smiled at him, and he felt strength surge back into his whole body. Zhou's mother was so angry she nearly choked. The rage stuck in her throat, almost coughing up blood. Just then, an older woman lugging a bunch of Mountain Produce squeezed over. One look at the luggage rack, packed to the brim, and she started cursing up a storm. Which no-good soul took up all the space? How's anyone else supposed to put their stuff up here? Zhou's mother, delighting in the trouble, pointed at me. The woman turned to glare, fuming. I immediately pulled out some boiled eggs and a handful of fruit candies and pressed them into her hands. So sorry, Auntie. We're answering the call to go build the countryside for our motherland. It's a long trip, so we packed a bit much and took up your space. Please bear with us. With eggs and candy in her hands, the woman's anger vanished in an instant. It was like getting your seat taken, only to have the other person hand you $1,000 on the spot. I thought it was something serious. Building up the motherland is important business. You young folks have it rough, of course you should bring plenty. I'll just put my little bit of stuff by my feet. No trouble at all. I warmly grabbed a handful of peanuts and pressed them on her too. Have a taste, Auntie, boiled them myself. Auntie Wang got even happier, thanking me over and over, and she got chatty too. Turns out her daughter was also assigned to the Xinjiang Production Corps, same place as us, and was about to give birth. Auntie was rushing over to help with the postpartum month. The clinic's too far from the village, and her in-laws want her to give birth at home to save money. I couldn't stop worrying, so I'm making this long trip to check on her. Once Auntie Wang got started on her daughter's in-laws, she couldn't stop, pouring out her grievances like a flood. In those days, giving birth at home was normal. If the baby came, it came. If it didn't, it was 2 lives lost. In some places, if it was a girl, they'd just drown her in the chamber pot. Abandoning a baby on someone's doorstep was practically considered showing a little decency. As she was talking, another young female educated youth squeezed in next to Zhou's mother, carrying a simple bit of luggage. I handed over eggs, candy, and a fistful of peanuts as usual. Comrade, sorry for taking your spot. As you can see. The young woman took the stuff, glanced at the luggage rack, which really had no room left, and angrily dumped her bag by her feet, rolling her eyes. What is this, tossing scraps to a beggar? Just some crummy eggs and a little candy. Auntie Wang immediately chimed in, all sarcastic. Oh yeah? If you don't want it, don't take it. They've got a lot of luggage, we've got little. What's wrong with helping each other out? You take their stuff and still throw shade? Fine, don't take it. Give it here to me. The young woman gave a huff and shut up. At last, the train started moving, clattering along as it picked up speed. Here's the English translation. Fast. I let out a breath and said to Zhou Yenshin, you've been at it all night. Grab a bite and get some sleep. Okay. Beside us, Auntie Wang covered her mouth, staring at him in shock. Young men really were something else. He'd been going at it all night long. Back in her day, her old man could barely manage half an hour. Zhou Yenshin figured grab a bite just meant eating an egg. He never expected there'd be white flour buns too. He took a bite and found pickled vegetables tucked inside. Delicious. What shocked him even more was that the thermos wasn't filled with water. It was sweet soy milk. He looked at me. Just how much food did this wife of his bring? Eggs, buns, sweet drinks, boiled peanuts, soy milk. She'd thought of everything. He'd been single so long that suddenly being cared for this thoroughly left him a little overwhelmed. If it had just been him and his mother heading to the countryside, they probably wouldn't have even had an egg right now. But I'd been busy all night. I must be exhausted, right? I smiled at him, made a shoe gesture and dug in. Mom, the food's right here, help yourself. Who'd eat that junk of yours? Zhou's mother huffed in disgust, pressing a handkerchief tightly over her nose as she slowly nibbled on the pastries she'd brought. I'd been busy all night and was starving. 2 eggs, 2 buns with pickles, a whole pile of peanuts, half a thermos of soy milk. I couldn't fight off the drowsiness any longer and fell asleep sitting right there. Zhou Yenshin finished eating and sat bolt upright, letting me lean against him. His presence was so commanding that even sitting still, he radiated authority. Auntie Wang and the female-educated youth didn't dare meet his eyes. He was tired, but he didn't dare sleep. There was too much stuff and he was afraid it'd get stolen. After all, his wife had bought it all. When I finally stirred awake, it was already noon. Across from us, the female-educated youth was gnawing on a rock-hard multigrain cake with some hot water, and Auntie Wang was chewing her own dense, unleavened flatbread. You're up. Zhou Yenshin relaxed and rolled his numb shoulder. You didn't sleep. I rubbed my eyes and asked in shock. He'd held this position without moving at all? I wasn't tired, he said calmly. Me. He hadn't slept all night, hauled all this luggage today and still wasn't tired? His stamina was ridiculous. You must be hungry. I'll go heat up the food. You rest. Where's the food? I'll go. Good chance to stretch my legs anyway, Zhou Yenshin said. Really, it was because the hot water station was crowded and he was afraid I'd get scalded. He was eager to do it, and I was happy to take it easy, so I handed him the 2 aluminum lunchboxes with yesterday's braised chicken and rice packed inside. The moment he squeezed into the aisle, Auntie Wang leaned over, gave me a thumbs up and lowered her voice. Your man's a real hard worker, always worried about you tiring yourself out. He's got you up on a pedestal. You just dozed off, and to keep you comfortable, he let his arm go numb without moving an inch. The female-educated youth stared at his retreating figure, her face flushing, then glanced at me with a look full of envy, jealousy, and resentment. Listening to Auntie Wang chatter on, I caught a glimpse of Zhou Yenshin returning and deliberately said loudly, "That's right. My husband dotes on me the most. He does all the housework himself, won't even let me lift a finger." Zhou Yenshin came back with the hot water just in time to hear his wife praising him, and his back straightened up instantly. He silently made a mental note. Do all the housework yourself. Zhou's mother sniffed contemptuously, watching her foolish son get sweet-talked into a daze. Great, with her son around, she couldn't order that little fox around anymore. Lunch was braised chicken over rice. The moment the lunchbox opened, the aroma spread everywhere, and everyone gnawing on their cakes turned to look. I added a piece of meat to Auntie Wang's flatbread and drizzled some sauce on top. Auntie, have a taste. Don't mind that it's not much. She thanked me over and over. Oh, thank you both. I'm not picky at all. Not like some people, who should be grateful to have anything to eat and still complain it's too little. She shot a glance at the female-educated youth as she said it. The female-educated youth swallowed hard and glared at me viciously. Bringing meat on a train just to torment people, huh? If you're gonna share with everyone, why just this, Auntie? You've got so much in your bowl you can't finish it. Might as well give everyone a piece. Yeah, bringing meat is downright immoral. You could at least give us some of the sauce. The female-educated youth smugly held out her multigrain cake, betting I was too soft-hearted to refuse even a drop of sauce. I pulled my bowl right back. I'd never intended to share, and instead explained leisurely to Auntie Wang. My husband and I just got married yesterday. We ordered a few nice dishes at the state-run restaurant, but before we could even eat them, we got notice this morning that we were being sent to the countryside. We can't even bear to eat this meat ourselves. Why would I share it with an ungrateful wretch? Auntie Wang suddenly understood and raised her voice. Oh my, isn't that the truth? Sent down to the countryside the very first day of marriage. How pitiful. Sweetheart, don't you worry, you eat up. Anyone who dares say one more word about it, you watch me give them a piece of my mind. The few people who'd been getting ideas immediately shut their mouths. The female-educated youth pursed her lips and went back to gnawing her multigrain cake. Smelling that aroma, she thought bitterly. Serves you right, going off to suffer in the countryside. Mom, time to eat, I called out warmly. Zhou's mother turned her head away. Who wants that greasy stuff? She pulled out her pastries and ate a few more pieces. Comrade Yenshin, Mom doesn't want any, so let's eat a little extra. With that, we each took a box and dug in. After finishing the meat and rice, we didn't waste the sauce either. We broke up buns to soak it all up. The lunch boxes were so clean they didn't even need washing. Over the next 2 days, Zhou Yenshin got a real education in what it meant to feed a pig in style. 3 days, 9 meals, and not a single one repeated. The second morning it was pickle wraps with 2 eggs each, plus a few slices of braised beef, egg and beef flatbread rolls incredibly fragrant. In the afternoon, fried fish with buns, or sweet and sour pork with rice. Every meal I never let Auntie Wang just sit there watching. A handful of peanuts here, a piece of fried fish there, a few slices of braised beef. After a few days, Auntie Wang became my staunchest ally. Anyone who dared say a single word against me would get drowned in her spit. At first the female educated youth kept muttering, but after a while, one eye roll would earn her a scolding from Auntie Wang. She couldn't out-argue her and couldn't get any food. She could only smell the aromas, so furious she wanted to spit blood. Zhou's mother sat there stiffly on the train for 3 days. The first 2 days she kept up appearances, but by the third, she was disheveled and grimy, and her pastries were all gone. After starving for a whole day, even she started drooling every time she looked at that greasy food. And sure enough, that wretched girl brought over another box of fried fish. Zhou's mother figured since she always got invited to eat anyway, this time when she was called, she'd just reluctantly eat a few pieces to go along with it. Mom, I know you don't like greasy food, so Yenshin and I will eat it. If you get hungry, just choke down some of this flatbread to tide you over. We're almost at the station. The 2 of us started eating again, taking big bites. The fish the state-run diner's cook had fried was crispy outside and tender inside. The aroma shooting straight up your nose. Zhou's mother was so mad she was grinding her teeth. She was starving. She was about to starve to death. She wanted food. She wanted meat. I'm not eating this flatbread. I want something else. She didn't know what we bought at the department store. She only knew I'd packed several big bags with plenty of food. I put on an apologetic face. Mom, look, the past few days you wouldn't eat this, wouldn't eat that, so Yenshin and I forced ourselves to finish it all. The peanuts and sweet potatoes are gone too. The only cooked food left now is this flatbread. Everything else is packed away in the luggage and hard to get to. The canned beef and canned fruit. I'd deliberately hidden them at the very bottom, under everything else. Beside us, the female educated youth Zhang Yan rolled her eyes. Forced themselves to finish it? If you couldn't finish it, couldn't you have shared some? Had she known this woman held grudges like this, maybe if she'd sucked up to her like that old auntie had, she'd have gotten a taste of meat every day too. Zhang Yan could have kicked herself. I don't care. I'm not eating flatbread. Take out all the food you bought. Zhou's mother slapped the flatbread down in front of me. Auntie Wang looked at me with pity, stuck with a mother-in-law like that. But the next second, Zhou Yenshin took the flatbread. If you don't want it, Mom, that's fine. I like it. Go dig around and find something yourself. He wolfed the whole thing down in a few bites. Zhou's mother was dumbfounded, so angry her chest hurt, unable to even throw a fit. Her stomach growled with hunger. She wanted to dig through the luggage, but it was too heavy to lift, so she rummaged through the bag under the seat and found a few pieces of fruit candy to suck on. She hated that little fox. Hadn't left her a single thing. She'd done it on purpose. I put on a wronged look, glancing timidly at Zhou's mother while leaning my body toward Zhou Yenshin. This little act nearly drove Zhou's mother out of her mind. I sneered inwardly. As long as a man protects his wife, no matter how vicious the mother-in-law is, she can't bully her. Those dull, wishy-washy men caught between mother and wife pretend to be deaf and dumb. They just can't be bothered to protect their wives. Zhou's mother swallowed her anger, sucking on the candy and filling her stomach with water. Finally, they reached the station. Yenshin, we're here. Let's hurry and get something to eat. Zhou's mother was so hungry her stomach was practically touching her spine. Forget greasy food. Right now she could have swallowed a whole fat pig set in front of her. For 3 or 4 whole days she hadn't eaten a single bite. The train station was packed with people, and she spotted the state-run diner right away. You're the educated youth heading to Ely for the rural assignment, right? There's a passenger bus here right now. Hurry and get on, or you'll have to wait until tomorrow. Seeing a crowd suddenly surge onto the bus, Zhou Yenshin couldn't spare a thought for food and dragged the luggage on, pushing his way through. Mom, get on first. We'll talk about food later. Zhou's mother had no choice but to squeeze on, clutching the box and the phonograph. If they missed the bus today, and with no letter of introduction, they might not even have a place to sleep tonight. In this era there was no such thing as an overloaded bus. A bus with 35 seats had more than 50 people crammed on, each hauling big and small bags. Even I was squeezed into a corner, unable to move, holding 3 or 4 pieces of luggage in my arms with more bags at my feet. 3 of us could only manage 2 seats. This is even more insane than the Line 1 rush hour back in Shenzhen. I sighed. It was July, hot and stuffy, and it didn't take long before all sorts of smells, sweat, body odor started drifting through the bus. Luckily, Zhou Yenshin carried a clean scent of soap that cut through it all. Can we fit any more? The driver shoved from the doorway. Let's go, driver, there's really no more room. Only then did the driver close the door, and the bus rattled into motion. Zhou's mother sat on the outside. A box in the phonograph balanced on her head. Worst of all, her face was right up against the armpit of a big guy holding onto a strap, and the reek of his body odor poured straight into her nose. Ugh! Zhou's mother nearly threw up. Comrade, could you move a little? Your smell is really strong. The big guy had luggage at his feet and a bag pressing against his back. He could only stand there. Sorry, comrade, I'm crammed in too, can't move either, and it's so hot. Don't worry, you'll get used to the smell after a while. I bit my lip to keep from laughing. This guy really had a way with words. Zhou's mother covered her nose in disgust and jabbed Zhou Yenshin. Let your wife sit on your lap and make some room for me. She really couldn't stand that body odor. Zhou Yenshin's face flushed red. He was clearly a little tempted, yet he still put on his upright gentleman act and hesitated. Wouldn't that look bad? She's your wife, what's bad about it? Zhou's mother said impatiently. Hurry up, so what if you two young people squeeze together a bit? And so I reluctantly sat down on Zhou Yenshin's lap. A soft warmth pressed against his legs, and he instantly froze. My fresh scent drifted into his nose, my breath brushing against his face. It was my first time sitting on this chiseled model-perfect man, and my face went hot, my heart pounding. His body was all firm, solid muscle, his profile sharp and defined. He was so handsome I could barely hold myself together. The bus lurched, rolling over a big pothole, and Zhou Yenshin tipped backward, sending me crashing into his rock-hard chest. Ow, that hurts. I let out a soft cry. He stiffened, his hand hovering in midair, hesitating for 2 seconds. Then that big hand, veins bulging, pulled me into his embrace. This way you won't get jostled around. I kept my head down, not daring to look up. He tilted his head up, not daring to look down. The whole ride my mood was sweet, the scenery stretching on and on. Zhou's mother sat on the outside, hungry, exhausted and drowsy, that big guy's armpit right in front of her nose, getting fumigated the whole way. The moment the bus stopped, blurg! She threw up. When they arrived at the remote county town in the far northwest, Zhou's mother nearly fainted at the sight of this barren, desolate place. You're telling me we still have to take a filthy, stinking ox cart to the farm? Another 15 kilometers? And this place still isn't even the countryside. Auntie Wang, sweating, took off her outer jacket and waved toward the distance with her luggage in hand. The ox cart's here. The branch secretary sent it to pick up the educated youth. If you don't ride, you'll have to walk. Zhou's mother crossed her arms. I'm not riding an ox cart. That smell could kill a person. Yenshin, find your mom a ride. Even a rickshaw will do. She'd grown up wrapped in silk and living in luxury. Even during the campaign to smash the four olds, she'd ridden in a liberation truck. When had she ever ridden something so foul? Of this batch of educated youth, it was just our family of 4 plus Auntie Wang, who was visiting relatives. The female educated youth Zhang Yan rolled her eyes and spat. If you won't ride, we will. Having an ox cart at all is plenty good. She'd figured it out now, this bunch was full of themselves. Zhou Yenshin pressed his lips together and said in a low voice, Mom, around here there's nothing but the ox cart. Some other cart. Or would you mind walking? Mother Zhou reluctantly agreed. Fine. I'll ride if I have to. But when the ox cart finally showed up, there was no riding it after all. The old man driving the cart spoke in a rush. You're the new educated youth, aren't you? Just walk back on your own, it's only a few steps. I've got to get to the clinic. Our brigade's youth league secretary looks like he's got heat stroke. He's passed out cold. He pointed at the middle-aged man lying in the cart, wearing a threadbare red undershirt, his face deathly pale. My heart jumped. His words hit me like a thunderclap. When the original owner of this body heard it was the youth league secretary, she wanted to make her future life easier, and trusting her own skills as a doctor, she'd bought the heatstroke diagnosis. She tried to save him by pinching his philtrum and bloodletting. As a result, she delayed treating what was really wrong. Secretary Lee, a well-respected figure in the brigade, was having an acute myocardial infarction. He didn't make it to the clinic alive. The original owner had just arrived in the countryside, and she'd already become the one who killed a good cadre. The whole village turned against her, and even the brigade medic position that should have been hers was gone for good. I took a deep breath. This was the man doomed to die my cousin had deliberately set up, arranged so the original owner would run into him and end up hated by the entire village. Even if this Secretary Lee were sent to the clinic, their equipment wasn't good enough to save him. But this doomed man, I had to save him. No matter how my cousin had scripted this, no matter how she wanted to humiliate the original owner, a living, upright, good person was about to die right in front of me. I couldn't just stand by and watch. Even setting all that aside, this man was the key to me finding my footing out here in the countryside. I had to bring him back. I scanned his symptoms: pale face, drenched in sweat, difficulty breathing, and combined it with what I knew from the original storyline. Meanwhile, Mother Jo was crying, clutching the suitcase and the phonograph. 12 kilometers and he calls it a few steps? He expects me to carry all this stuff and walk? I might as well just die, boo-hoo-hoo. The old man ignored her, anxious to get moving. Wait. I stepped forward. Uncle, your youth league secretary doesn't have heat stroke. It's a heart attack. It's critical. Let me give him emergency treatment first, or he'll never make it to the clinic in time. In this era, you couldn't treat a heart attack with a stent. All you could do was administer drugs to relieve it and keep the clot from growing. With symptoms like Secretary Lee's, he had only a few hours left. The old man was startled. Are you serious? It's that bad? Secretary Lee did say there was supposed to be a medic in this group of educated youth. So can you treat him? Mother Jo quickly grabbed the old man's arm. My daughter-in-law is a doctor, the best there is. She can cure anything. Hurry, let her take a look. Once he was cured, she'd get her ride on the cart. Zhou Yenshin frowned and pulled his mother back, then leaned down and murmured to me, "We just got here. Wouldn't it be safer to let the uncle take him to the clinic?" He was afraid I'd cost the man his life. I gave him a slight smile. Don't worry. I've got this. In the original story, the male lead had tried to talk her out of it too, but the original owner had insisted on having her way. I was different. I went over to the cart, quickly checked Secretary Lee's pupils and the pulse in his carotid artery, and grew even more certain. This isn't heat stroke. It's his heart. Moving him right now is extremely dangerous. The old man patted his chest. I don't know anything about that. I just know to haul him to the clinic. I immediately opened my medical kit and took out my silver needles, the ones soaked in enhanced spirit spring water. Key point: soaked in the precious enhanced version of the spirit spring water. In a few swift strokes, murmuring the name of each acupoint under my breath, I drove the needles into Secretary Lee one after another, as if flinging them. In the blink of an eye, his whole body was covered in needles. The people around us stared in shock. The old man mumbled, "Well, she really is a doctor." To be honest, the core of resuscitating an acute myocardial infarction is restoring blood flow to the heart muscle as fast as possible. Western medicine does this faster. Traditional Chinese medicine is mostly for stabilizing and conditioning afterward. The only reason I dared to do this was the confidence the enhanced spirit spring water gave me. A moment later, Secretary Lee's faint breathing eased a little, and I immediately fed him some enhanced spirit spring water. Barely 10 seconds passed before he slowly opened his eyes. He's awake. Secretary Lee is awake. The old man was both alarmed and overjoyed. Aunt Wang was stunned too and slapped her thigh hard. Oh my heavens. Girl, you really are a doctor? What incredible skills. I smiled faintly. I know a little. Auntie, your daughter is in the production corps. From now on, if she has trouble giving birth or feels unwell, and it's not convenient to reach the clinic, she can come find me. Yes. Thank you so much. Secretary Lee coughed weakly a couple of times. The old man hurried to explain. Secretary Lee, it's all thanks to this educated youth who just arrived. After hearing it, Secretary Lee managed a weak smile. Thank you, Comrade Little Sue. Old Zhang, since I'm awake now, it can't be anything serious. Hurry and take the new educated youth to their lodgings. Don't bother with the clinic. I've got a whole pile of work waiting. Good grief, you just had a heart attack, and the second you wake up you want to go back to work? Truly the workaholic maniac from the original text. Ahem, Secretary Lee, this condition could take your life at any moment. I've only stabilized you temporarily. You still need to go to the hospital for further treatment. Here's what we'll do. I'll go with you to the clinic, then have Comrade Zhang take us back. It won't take long. I gave him a rundown on myocardial infarction. Hearing how serious it was, Secretary Lee hesitated for a moment, then nodded. All right, take me to the clinic first and let's ask the doctor. He loved his work, but he was even more afraid of dying. Still, a thought nagged at him. Was this educated youth exaggerating his condition on purpose, just to earn his gratitude? If the doctor said there was nothing seriously wrong with him, then her motives would be suspect. Then I'll have to trouble you to watch the luggage here. Zhou Yenshin piled the 7 or 8 bags at his feet. Go on ahead. We'll wait here for you. If there hadn't been so much luggage, he definitely would have gone along. He didn't feel right about me going alone. Mother Zhou was displeased, but hearing that the ox cart would still take them to their destination, She stopped making a fuss. She found a shady tree and started rummaging through the bags for something to eat. At the clinic, I first stated my credentials, explained the situation to the doctor in professional terms, recommended the tests to run, and then set off with old Zhang on the cart to pick up Zhou Yenshin. The doctor immediately grasped the severity and arranged a detailed examination. In the hospital room, Secretary Li had fully recovered after treatment. "Comrade, there's nothing really wrong with me, right? When can I head back? There's a mountain of work over there. Our brigade's suffering a bad drought, and we've still got irrigation channels to dig and the harvest to bring in." The middle-aged male doctor's eyes went wide when he heard this. "Nothing wrong with you? Look at your cardiac enzyme panel. It's several times over the normal level. And look at this ECG. You've been standing at death's door. Had to circle around so many times. If that female comrade who brought you here didn't know what she was doing, if she hadn't made that split-second call to give you those injections to ease the vascular spasms, with your condition, if we'd rushed you straight here and the ride had jostled you around a few times, you might not have made it." Party Secretary Li was stunned. He only knew he'd felt awful at the time. He never imagined it had been that close to death. I have to be hospitalized?" he asked, dazed. "Hospitalized? That's the least of it." The doctor's tone left no room for argument. "You need at least 2 weeks of hospital observation and treatment, and strict bed rest. There's always more work to do, but you've only got one life. You won't be this lucky next time." Party Secretary Li fell completely silent, leaning back against the hospital bed. So that educated youth who'd come down to the countryside had really saved his life, and he'd suspected her of having ulterior motives. I deserved to die. His guilt reached its peak. Just then the door to the room opened. "Boss, I heard from old Zhang that you'd collapsed, and your life was in danger, so I rushed right over." Lu Shuqing nearly buckled at the knees. If Party Secretary Li was gone, so was his path to promotion. Party Secretary Li waved his hand. "Shuqing, I'm fine now. I need you to head back to the township right away and get that newly arrived educated youth family settled. Swap out the mud hut they were assigned for a new house. And that little comrade Sue. Don't we have an open medic position in our regiment?" He wasn't just repaying a debt for saving his life. A doctor this skilled. He had to find a way to keep her close. Lu Shuqing was floored. Was this educated youth family the secretary's own daughters? Wait, they'd saved his life? He immediately hopped on his bicycle and pedaled off to make arrangements, the wheels practically throwing sparks. This comrade Su Wanqing was his savior too. Meanwhile, I had a strange look on my face. The space in my mind kept chiming with notifications. I looked and there was a line of text. "You have saved a person destined to die. This person will benefit the people from now on. You have gained merit power plus 100, a required attribute for upgrading the space. Congratulations, golden irrigation spirit uses +1. So saving people could earn merit power? So upgrading the space needed more than just gold and silver? This Rubik's Cube space was really something." The ox cart creaked and swayed its way to the educated youth settlement of Regiment 65. Several rows of low mud brick houses were scattered across the yellow earth, desolate beyond words. Auntie Wang had gone to find her daughter. She'd visited once for the wedding and knew the way. Mother Zhou hurled her suitcase down with a clang and pointed at the row of run-down mud huts, her voice shrill. "You expect us to live in this dump? Is this a place for human beings?" The mud huts didn't even have windows, just dust and dirt everywhere. I stared at the mud hut in front of me, dumbstruck. It was worse than the shabbiest one on Dad. "Where are we going?" That afternoon, the educated youths had just gotten off work. When they heard Mother Zhou's outburst, they all shot us unfriendly looks. The educated youth team leader Tian Dehua walked over, dark-skinned, sturdily built, holding a beat-up notebook, her face expressionless. "You're the new arrivals? The Su Wanqing Zhou Yenshin Dingguixiang family, plus Zhang Yan." She scanned the roster, then glanced at Mother Zhou's out-of-place demeanor, her tone flat and hard. "Here are your housing assignments. Your family, you'll take that empty mud hut." She pointed to the most dilapidated one in the corner. "Zhang Yan, you'll go into this one next door." That one already housed 3 female educated youths. Their faces darkened and they trudged inside, grumbling, to clear space and shuffle their things. Zhou Yenshin ducked inside, then came out frowning. "Comrade, it's not really convenient for the 3 of us to live together. Do you think maybe we could?" It wasn't that he wanted to share a Kong with me and do that. After all, he wasn't much good in that department right now. He was afraid that if his mother and I shared a Kong, we'd end up brawling in the middle of the night. Most importantly, that house had cracks in the walls. It wasn't safe. Tian Dahua snorted. "Every unit here is a 4-person Kong. 3 of you to a room is already generous. Or I can move you to the men's dorm and the 2 of them to the women's dorm. Your choice." She handed over the register. "Hurry up and pick, then sign." New arrivals can borrow rations up front, 10 pounds of fine grain, 30 pounds of coarse grain, to be deducted from your work points after the fall harvest. From now on you eat from the communal pot, contribute grain per head, and take turns cooking. The vegetables are grown by the settlement itself, so either you turn in grain coupons or you don't eat. She paused. You start work tomorrow. This is a production corps, we grow corn and spring wheat. It's a bad drought this July, so morning formation and afternoon military drills and political study have all been cancelled. Party Secretary Lee leads people out to dig channels for irrigation every day. You new ones work during the day. The men haul water and irrigate the fields. The women thin seedlings and pull weeds. She went on to detail the various work points: digging channels, hauling water, picking fruit in the orchard, harvesting hops, feeding livestock at the pig and chicken pens. Normally, morning drills and training, then farm work, then studying Chairman Mao's writings, then military drills and squad duties after dinner. Holy crap. I nearly spat out my drink. Was life here really this brutal? Good thing it was a drought now, and Party Secretary Lee had cancelled all the activities. All day was for digging channels. Good. Now this was going down to the countryside for re-education. Zhang Yan, who'd ridden in with us, immediately piped up cleverly. Team leader Tian, I'm the best at picking fruit. I'll go pick fruit. Picking fruit earned low work points, but you could sneak bites, at least enough to fill your belly. Tian Dehua smirked mockingly. Fine, you go pick fruit. And the rest of you. She looked at me and Zhou Yenshin. Mother Zhou blew up the moment she heard it. Every job sounded exhausting. Work all day and then thin seedlings at night? How am I supposed to do that? The sun could peel the skin right off you. And this house? She pointed at the low mud hut. People can live in this? You have to bend over just to get in. Won't the roof cave in? She'd spent most of her life pampered, thinking going to the countryside just meant living somewhere else. She never imagined farm work every single day, and housing like this. I frowned hard too. I knew it'd be tough, but I'd figured the worst case would be a brick house, patch it up with newspaper and felt and it'd do. But now, this house would probably have to be torn down and rebuilt. Life in the Xinjiang Production Corps, starting on hell difficulty right out of the gate. Tian Dehua picked idly at the vegetable leaves. You're already out here in the countryside and you're still making a fuss? Don't want to work? Fine. No work points, no grain when the harvest's divided in the fall. Don't blame me when you go hungry. Keep making trouble, and it means you've got ideological problems resisting re-education. Weigh the consequences yourself. A few of the veteran-educated youths gathered around. One with short braids sneered. Oh? Thought you'd be living it up like back in the city? You came down here to receive re-education from the poor and lower-middle peasants, and you still want to play the rich young miss and master. Exactly. We've lived in this house for years, how? Then it's not fit for living? If we don't stay here, where should we go? The sky. And this comrade's got a bad leg, clearly not cut out for hard labor. If we get stuck with him counting toward our quota, we'll never make it. Dead weight. Zhou Yenshin's brow furrowed slightly. Without a word, he stepped in front of me and my mother-in-law, shielding us. He stood tall, his gaze calmly sweeping over the group of veteran-educated youths before settling on Tian Dahua. Comrades, we answered the call and came to the countryside to be tempered and to do our part for socialism. We're not afraid of hard conditions, and we're willing to reform ourselves through labor. But the prerequisite for that reform is personal safety. The walls of this house are cracked. It could collapse at any moment. If you make us live in there and something happens, who takes responsibility? Here's what I propose. We'll settle in as assigned for now, but I'll immediately file a report with the regiment headquarters, requesting permission to build a brick house ourselves during our off hours. We'll cover the cost of materials, we won't use collective resources, and we won't miss any work. I asked the organization to supervise us. Then he turned his head and lowered his voice, apologetic. Comrade Wanqing, I'm afraid you and Mother may have to rough it in this old house for a few days. Do you think? That's all right. I looked at him, eyes shining. Handsome. So handsome. This was my man? No matter what problem came up, he could step forward at once, responsible, ready to solve it. The measure of whether a man is mature has never been his age. It's his ability to solve problems. I nodded. Okay, we'll do it your way. We'll rough it for a few days. Just then a voice grew louder as it approached. Aya, there's been a mistake. A mistake. Captain Tian. Everyone turned to see Lu Shuqing braking his bicycle, sweat beading on his forehead. He was Party Secretary Li's deputy. Tian Dahua blinked. Officer Lu, what mistake? Lu Shuqing gasped for breath, pointing at the rundown mud house. How can you put Comrade Su Wanqing and her family in here? Secretary Li gave specific instructions. Give Comrade Su one of the newly built brick houses in that row. What? Every educated youth stood there stunned. all turning to stare at us in unison. Those red brick houses were the mansions of the settlement, 4 in total. The slots had only been assigned last week, reserved for youths who'd made outstanding contributions or were getting married and settling down. Everyone had been eyeing them hungrily. Tiandahua froze too. Why? Weren't all the brick house slots already assigned? One of them had been promised to her. Her marriage house for next month, when she and Ertsuzi got married. She'd worked hard here for 5 years without complaint. Captain was the flattering title. The honest one was babysitter for the educated youths. She earned barely a few extra work points and dealt with endless headaches. Wasn't the whole point of it that she'd finally get to live in a new brick house when she married? Lu Shuqing cut her off, his voice booming so everyone could hear. Captain Tian, you don't know yet. This comrade Su Wanqing is a highly skilled doctor. Just now on the road, Secretary Li had a sudden heart attack. He was at death's door. It was Comrade Su who pulled him back from the brink with acupuncture. She's the only medic in our whole regiment right now. She'd just gotten married when she answered the call to come support the frontier. By any measure, she deserves to be looked after. This is Secretary Li's order. The words carried so much weight that the crowd fell dead silent. A doctor? Saved Secretary Li? The regiment's only medic? If she saved Secretary Li, then I've got no problem with little Sue getting a brick house. Secretary Li's a good man. If it weren't for him back then, I'd have starved to death. Secretary Li's always looked out for us educated youths. Forget it. Forget it. Never would have guessed little Sue was a doctor. Now we won't have to trek to the county seat every time we get a headache or fever. I've got no problem with the doctor living in a brick house. The veteran youths who'd been sneering just moments ago changed their tune instantly. But Tiandahua's face darkened. Lu Shuqing patted her shoulder. Don't worry, it's not your house being given up. Chun Weidong never showed up to register, so the regiment cancelled his slot. Tiandahua paused, then finally let out a relieved smile. Then I've got no objections. Chun Weidong? I frowned. The original owner's lover? Lu Shuqing turned to us with a smile again. Comrade Su, Comrade Zhou, and you too, Auntie, don't just stand there. Come with me. I'll take you to your new place and get you settled. I took a deep breath. Whatever, who cares? I tugged along Zhou Yenshin, who hadn't quite processed it all, and nodded politely. Thank you, Officer Lu. Sorry for the trouble. Looks like the man I took a risk to save was the right one to save. There was a line in the original story. If not for the original owner's misdiagnosis and delay, Secretary Li, with his emotional intelligence and ability, would surely have risen to an important leadership post within a few years. Sure enough, Secretary Li knew how to handle things, solving a huge problem for me. I was thrilled. Under the envious, jealous stares of the crowd, I followed Lu Shuqing into that row of brand new red brick houses. Zhang Yan packed up her things, stamping her foot in frustration, her heart bubbling over with resentment. Why did she have to live in a mud house while we got the good one? The red brick house really was different. The roof was laid with neat tiles, there was a glass window, a big Kong bed, and even a tiled floor. The room was empty, about 15 square meters, no match for the family compound, but by settlement standards it was definitely luxurious and spacious. I was very satisfied. Lu Shuqing helped carry the luggage in, handed over the key, and had Tiandahua bring the borrowed rations. A sack of cornmeal, a sack of sorghum rice, and 10 pounds of sweet potatoes. He gave us some advice. Our whole frontier was built up bit by bit from wasteland by a dozen or so divisions of soldiers and their families over 10 some years ago. It's hard, but we're united. Conditions are rough now, but they'll get better. Whatever you're missing, trade for it with grain coupons and industrial coupons from the locals and veteran youths. You don't have to join tonight's ditch digging. Get settled properly. Tomorrow you start work officially, and you'll need to pick your job type. The moment Mother heard this, tears welled up. She really couldn't do this kind of work. Making her do it would be worse than dying. I pulled a big handful of candy from my pocket and pressed it into Lu Shuqing's hand. Officer Lu, my mother's getting on in years. She can only read and write. Is there any lighter work available? Lu Shuqing tried to decline but ended up accepting, thinking to himself that this comrade sure knew how to work things, though truthfully, out of gratitude for his life being saved, he'd have arranged it anyway. He said warmly, Auntie just arrived, so physical labor's too much for her. How about this? She can go to the logistics office to help register, hand out labor protection supplies and tools, and keep an eye on the warehouse. It's the easiest work, 6 work points a day. That was easy work and you needed connections just to get it. I looked at Mother. Mom, is that okay? In the original storyline, Mother couldn't farm or feed the pigs, so in the end she hid in the house slacking off, which forced Zhou Yenshin to do 2 people's work alone, and the original owner had to pick up extra work to make up for it too. But now that I was here, there was no way I'd let my lazy mother-in-law sit idle. Give her 6 work points a day. Keep her busy so she won't have time to make trouble for me, and I can get more done at home. A nasty mother-in-law who stirs up trouble is just someone with too much time on her hands. Mother Jo was speechless. She'd lived a life of ease and comfort for most of her years, and now in her old age she had to watch over a warehouse? Tears welled up from the injustice of it all. Just as she was about to speak, Zhou Yinshan grabbed Lu Shuqing's hand. Thank you, comrade, thank you so much. My mother is very pleased with this job. Mother Zhou opened her mouth, then finally closed it in resignation. Fine. Watching a warehouse and logging supplies. It shouldn't be too tiring. Lu Shuqing turned to me again. Comrade Su, report directly to the health clinic tomorrow. Our conditions are limited, just 2 mudbrick rooms. You'll be treating people for minor illnesses, and also tending to the livestock team's animals. Sometimes you'll even have to deliver piglets, lambs, and calves. Go apply for the medicine tomorrow. Oh, so I be treating people, treating livestock, and delivering baby pigs? Sure, no problem. I know a bit about treating animals too. I'm even good at castrating boars. Zhou Yinshan felt a chill run through his lower half. This wife of mine. How does she know how to do everything? Looks like from now on I'd better not make her angry. Lu Shuqing was genuinely delighted. Comrade Little Su, you're really impressive. Our whole regiment is counting on you from now on. Once everything was settled, Lu Shuqing hurried off, and Zhou Yinshan rose to see her out. Mother Zhou dropped the luggage and the phonograph on the floor with a thud, not caring about the dirt, and plopped herself down on the Kong. Daughter-in-law, my feet are all swollen. I really can't move. I'm thirsty and hungry. Go boil some water and make some food. And I need a bath, I feel all sticky. I told you to bring a big tub and you didn't. How am I supposed to wash in this filthy place? She grumbled while calculating in her head. Hadn't the whole point of not letting her son divorce me been to have someone wait on her once they came to the countryside? Now that her son wasn't around, she'd finally caught her chance to boss me around. The room went quiet for a moment. I sneered inwardly but put on a meek face. Okay, Mom. I got up, dug a water bottle out of the luggage, and ran right into Zhou Yinshan coming back inside. I said softly, "You've been working hard all this time. You must be thirsty and hungry too. I'll go boil some water and fix something to eat. We'll just make do for now so Mom doesn't go hungry." Zhou Yinshan frowned. He glanced at his mother lying on the Kong and instantly understood. His mother was ordering people around again. Mom, Comrade Wanqing has been tired all day. From now on I'll handle the housework. As he spoke, he took the water bottle from my hand. Comrade Wanqing, you've worked hard. Go rest for a bit. Tidying the room, arranging the luggage, cleaning up. Leave it all to me. Watching her son shield me like this, even rolling up his sleeves to do the work himself, Mother Zhou's face darkened instantly. Her chest heaved with anger. Zhou Yinshan turned to her again. Mom, if it weren't for Comrade Wanqing, we wouldn't have a brick house to live in today, and you wouldn't have landed such an easy job. I think we owe her a proper thank you. Don't you agree? Mother Zhou pursed her lips. But at the thought of that dusty, half-collapsed mud house, she finally straightened up and thanked me in earnest. That's right, daughter-in-law, we have you to thank today. Thank you. Zhou Yinshan immediately spoke up solemnly too. Thank you, Comrade Su Wanqing. We couldn't have done it without you today. I discovered another good quality in him. Even with his closest family, he knew how to show mutual respect and offer a sincere thank you. No need to thank me. We're family. I smiled. All the effort I'd made for coming to the countryside seemed worth it. Mother Zhou gave a humph, picked up her little bundle and headed out, saying she was going to find the villagers to buy a few things and while she was at it, ask around about cutting down a tree to make a big bathing tub. Since Zhou Yinshan said he'd handle everything, I'd stay out of it. When it comes to housework, men really are more efficient. He rolled up his sleeves and in no time had the room swept clean, wiping every surface until it gleamed. Then came arranging those heavy pieces of luggage. This one I had to jump in on since some of it involved supplies from my space. Once the cleaning was done, he dug out a piece of cloth and quickly hung up a makeshift curtain, even stringing a partition across the middle of the Kong, setting up Mother Zhou's bedding on the other side. Comrade Wanqing will use the curtain to block things off for now. Once I find some materials, I'll wall off a separate room. It'll be more convenient for us. I blinked. Convenient for what? Zhou Yinshan. He'd only meant to separate his mother from me. He hadn't been thinking of anything else. I bit back a laugh and nodded seriously. It really would be convenient for getting certain things done. Convenient for me to cop a feel of those rock-hard pecs of his. He cleared his throat softly, didn't take the bait, and turned to grab some old newspapers and paste, carefully pasting a strip around the edge of the Kong and the walls that were prone to shedding dirt, clean and neat. Then he pushed 2 old wooden crates together, laid a cloth over them and just like that, we had a makeshift table. He tucked the wash basin and thermos into the corner, clearing out space to move around. I busied myself with the luggage, taking out all the pots, pans, and dishes, laying out the bedding, and hiding all the food that couldn't be seen away in the wooden crates. After all the work, the once bare, shabby room was now neat and orderly, radiating a simple kind of warmth. Zhou Yenshin looked around and said in a low voice, "We'll live like this for now. In a few days I'll find some lumber, build a sturdy table and a couple of chairs, and add things bit by bit." When Zhang Yan pushed the door open and walked in, she saw the bright, tidy room stacked with supplies, and her jaw nearly hit the floor. In the blink of an eye, an empty house had turned into this? Just how much stuff had they brought? "Who told you to come in without knocking?" I snapped, rising to shoo her out. Good thing all the food was locked in the crates, and half the curtain was still in place. "Looks like this door lock needed replacing. Team leader Tian sent me to ask whether you two are eating, and to have you turn in your grain and grain ration coupons." Zhang Yan sized up the room, her face full of envy, jealousy, and spite. Her own mud house crammed 4 people into 6 or 7 square meters, the wall plaster crumbling, dust all over the Kong and floor, so dim it was awful. No comparison to this bright brick house with a window. "We're not going to eat there today, we'll just make do with something. You can head back for now, educated youth Zhang. Next time knock before you come in. Barging in without permission. How's that any different from a thief? As if anyone's dying to get into your house?" Zhang Yan clicked her tongue. "Over on our side we just push the door open and walk in. You're the only one being so fussy." With that she slammed the door and left. I sneered. Looks like she needed a good lesson. Locking the door, I turned to Zhou Yenshin. "Comrade Yenshin, we've got all the pots and dishes now. I was thinking, could we build a simple stove outside the house? That way we can cook for ourselves from now on and stop eating from the communal pot at the educated youth station." The moment I arrived today, I spotted what they were cooking in that big communal pot. Cornmeal mush, dark lumpy corn buns, and boiled cabbage. Fine, so there's nothing good to eat. But I've got so much great stuff in my space and they still expect me to eat this? I couldn't get it down. My space hadn't been idle these past few days. Those prepared foods I'd bought earlier, I'd been using my tenfold return ability on them daily. 10 portions of fried fish, 10 of braised beef, 10 each of red braised pork and pork knuckle. Once I ran the eggs through the enchantment tomorrow, I'd have enough cooked food to eat well for a good long while. Cook for myself, eat delicious meals, and quietly pull the good stuff out of my space. Why would I gnaw on corn buns? Zhou Yenshin thought it over. Cooking for ourselves would be nice. But wouldn't it be too much work for you? You've still got your job at the clinic. It's no trouble at all. My job's the easiest one around. I just want you to eat better. Digging ditches all day is heavy labor. The communal food won't give you enough nutrition. You'll wear yourself out. Lies. You're the male lead, your body's rock solid. I'm the one who needs the extra nutrition. Warmth spread through Zhou Yenshin's chest. Alright, I'll listen to you. I'll go find some mud bricks and stones to build a stove right now. I smiled, my eyes curving into crescents. Great. Comrade Yenshin, you're really something. Building tables and chairs is one thing, but you can do this too. Not like me. I can't do this, can't do that, good thing I've got you. It's nothing. All he left me was the sight of his back. Before long, he came lugging back a huge pile of stones. My mouth fell open. Did I overdose this workhorse on stimulants or something? The commotion outside quickly drew a few sent-down youths over. What are they doing? Building their own stove. Looks like it. TSK. Think the communal food isn't good enough for them, want to cook on their own. Zhang Yan handed out the fruit candies I'd given her on the train to her 3 roommates and said, "Who's to say otherwise?" On the whole train ride they ate braised beef, red braised pork, TSK, and fried fish from the state-run restaurant, all fragrant and tender. Flaunting it right in front of me on purpose, didn't offer me a single bite. A few of the youths leaned in, hungry for gossip. For real? They ate that well on the train. While Zhang Yan wagged her tongue over there, I took 2 caddies of red dates from my space, packed them into a cloth pouch, and carried them off to find Tian Dehua, the head of the sent-down youth team. Tian Dehua was assigning the evening's work. She didn't look too pleased to see me. "Team leader Tian, there's something I need to report. We'd like to build our own stove and cook separately, instead of eating from the communal pot." Her brow furrowed. Just as she was about to bring up collectivism, I cut in first. "Actually, the communal food's fine, saves us from dealing with firewood. It's mainly my mother-in-law. She's got a bit of, well, a contagious disease that's hard to talk about. It's not serious. If you all don't mind, we'd honestly be happy to eat together." Before I could finish, the moment Tian Dehua heard contagious disease, she waved her hands. "Comrade Xiao Su, you cook for yourselves then, absolutely. Special circumstances call for special treatment." I'd kept my voice at just the right volume, not too loud, not too soft, and the few youths nearby heard every word. Their faces changed and they backed away a few steps. Comrade Sue, you cook for yourselves, we're all for it. Right, home cooking suits your own taste better anyway. My mother-in-law really did have an embarrassing case of athlete's foot. I hadn't lied. I just wronged her a little, saddling her with a bad reputation. Not that she was used to the communal food anyway. Zhang Yan had been planning to come inside for a look, but now she gave that up entirely, resolving never to set foot in our place again for fear of catching something. Our stove isn't built yet. That's no problem. Just use the one at the youth station for now, stagger your times. I breathed a sigh of relief and held out the pouch of red dates. Team leader Tian, we just got here and haven't planted any vegetables yet. Could we trade these red dates for some edible vegetables from the station? Anything at all. Tian Dahua gave the hefty pouch of dates a squeeze, and her expression softened another notch. Of course you can. The cabbage and radishes in the field are just right. I'll get you a couple heads of cabbage and pull a few radishes for you. The vegetables at the youth station were all grown by her alone, and the grain coupons and cloth coupons she collected counted as her personal income. This big bag of red dates was extra cash, so naturally she was in a good mood. Fair enough. My test with the red dates had worked. I turned and headed back inside. Then I took all the cloth in my space and applied the golden enchantment power I'd earned as a reward for saving someone today. Tenfold return. In an instant, more than a dozen bolts of fabric in various colors appeared in my space. A single bolt was worth 55 yuan, and together with what I'd bought on the black market, my net worth had multiplied tenfold in the blink of an eye. I wouldn't have to worry about cloth for a while. I could even hit the black market and trade for more supplies elsewhere.